cute today. Yeah. Wait.
Damn it! I wanted to see if you would keep making cute noises to chat.
You got even fly in my fucking brain.
Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! All right, welcome in, guys. They're gonna do their stand up. There's Armstrong.
Steven Flow.
You ever wonder if you give your community too much power?
What do you have? What did I see?
Why do I see Armstrong punching the
They do it every time we start stream. It's like one of the first things they do. You missed Mr. Boss about to beat poor Flair with a brick.
I saw that. Why am I getting beat with a brick?
Alright, who wants to fight?
Okay, when did they put a roast
Featuring
here?
this shit.
Who wants to fight?
I'm gonna watch.
Come here, father.
No! Alright, 1, 2.
Stress them out, stress them out, stress them out. Pressure, pressure, pressure,
Four.
pressure, 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 pressure.
Pressure.
Survivor main. DVD. No!
Critical success, critical success, critical success, critical success.
Fuck!
I win.
How are you doing?
Stop the galloping leap away.
I gathered them beforehand, so we had a little bit of chaos there. But welcome in. How's your Monday?
No, it's
Oh shit. Yeah.
Stress them out, stress them out, stress them out, stress them out, stress them out.
DVD, yay! DVD, yay! Survivor main, yay!
Oh god.
Ah, come here.
I do what else? Oh, right. 1, 2. Buckle my shoe.
Steven!
Oh, we're getting it!
No, you fucked me up.
Not the penguin, the pilgrim one, penguin. Oh my
God.
2.
Yeah!
Nice this fucking game.
Not only did they beat me with Armstrong, now I gotta do push-ups? Seriously?
Time to work it.
Man, I don't need to talk. I never need to talk to the collabers about etiquette. I always need to talk to Chad about etiquette. Oh, hit it.
Oh, that's so
there.
hard.
Wiggle it.
There.
Wiggle it.
Oh my god, I'm godlike.
Alright, come here.
Your Honor, this man's cheating.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god, it's just the lunchroom pressure.
No!
Hey, I win! Yay!
How are you doing though, Chad? I am muting and unmuting just in case, because I don't want to talk over the whole bit.
Exactly Dead by Daylight, you survivor.
Because we got so many noises.
Alright,
Let me do
time for me.
this.
I fucking hate Dead by Daylight.
There we go.
It says I have 1,000 hours.
You hate Dead by Daylight? Do I need to go look at Dead by Daylight and see how many recent hours you have?
Fuck!
Cheater.
Ping harder, ping.
Oh god. Okay.
I believe you.
Someone say strip I'm down. I don't know. Somebody
Yay!
Alright, your turn, Myron. Come on.
Oh god. I never win. I never win at arm wrestling in this game.
You got this, Marin. Don't let her get in your head.
Oh, I was not
Just
paying
starts
attention.
coughing. Just.
Oh my god, wow.
Holy shit!
All right, let me get my
God.
hand. Come on, Marin.
Oh, do I gotta keep going? Is this
Somebody
winner
said he doesn't
continues?
play this game often. You sure did beat my ass there just now.
Yes, I saw that too.
Oh my god.
Damn. Wait, hold
You're
on.
so strong. Oh, wait, 2 pros. Yeah, do it.
Gym 4 days a week.
Right here.
Ah, shit.
Holy shit.
Oh god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Come on, Goose. Come on, Goose.
Well, look at Jesus. I can't even respond to this thing spitting anymore. Jesus.
Yay!
This shit was crazy.
I'm the best. All right, is that it?
The
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Not undefeated.
That's true.
What would the-
Marin, you're
Is
muted.
it time to sit in queue for a few minutes to see if we can actually get an imposter match?
Let me make. Oh, Dr. Flair is the
Flair
leader.
is the leader.
I forgot.
Wait, do you not
That's
have
what I
you don't
was-
have
Oh,
any of
ew,
the
why do I
things
change that?
on?
You go
There we go.
to. You hit tab.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Don't.
Marin's leader.
Yeah, you can hit tab or you can
Make
hit
Goose
click the
leader.
terminal.
Hello, I'm the leader now.
Oh wait, wrong fucking
Follow the
person.
leader.
And then
How do
it's
I-
experimental therapy
trade leadership for
invasion.
that?
I think if you hit tab and click on Marin, I think it switches to
Minty has it.
Ew.
party leader.
Why is it-
I think.
Why is it doing me like? Okay, hold on. Promote to group leader. There you go. It's like giving
Okay.
me all the tutorials again. Damn, was I gone that long?
It's done that since they implemented
You were
like
gone so long. I'm almost
I
prestige
think
too.
imposter.
I know.
All right, we'll use this.
Wait,
and
I
see if
got
we
you.
can
We
even
Oh,
did this
shit.
game like
get
a
match.
month ago.
wait.
That's
Like,
crazy.
Let's
Five
go.
minutes.
Your
Let's
fault,
go.
actually.
Let's-
Wait, I
White
should have
Among Us-
fucking
White Among
upgraded
Us
my
gay
imposter
sex.
shit.
What?
Oh fuck! I'm gonna fuck up. I have like a million
Imposter.
tickets right now.
Oh, the DVD
gonna
gin
suck.
practice finally paying off.
love
It's
the jump
weirdly
bait.
If we can even
easier
find
to
an
play
imposter
Survivor
game.
on controller than it is to play
Wait,
on
switch
mouse
for
and
trap.
keyboard.
I guess I have time. Do it real fast.
All right, that means it's time to pick up lore.
Should I
They all
not
have
like,
exclamation
healing
marks.
items?
Tell me your
Like, what-
secrets,
I don't
engineer
even know,
man.
like what imposter's all about.
I don't either, but
Oh, I was
I'm
muted.
in that
Oh my
pharmacy
God.
thing.
I did not realize I was muted.
It's
I
okay.
said
you're
We're
muted.
always out.
We were screaming at you. We were crying. Honestly.
I threw up a little.
I can't
Yeah.
believe you were beating everybody's ass.
I shit myself.
It's okay. You totally missed chat discussing White Among Us gay sex.
Oh shit!
Oh shit.
I bought all the invasion stuff. Hooray! I'm a pro now.
There's invasion stuff? Wait, whoa.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
extra
no,
perks.
good
You don't
pharmacy.
get like your normal
Yeah, go to pharmacy.
reagent perks. There's specific ones.
I don't know what I did to piss you off.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if you have a bunch
just
of
had
like
a bunch
spare
of-
tickets, just throw them at the wall.
That's what I did.
And grabs an elastic band with all my tickets, hucks it at the wall. Why didn't this work? Oh, we're gonna invade.
shit.
Oh, it's working. It's pop.
Oh, shit.
You pop, you pop.
We got that pussy to pop.
Oh, I don't got no tickets now.
And then just all four
let's
of
see-
us just like on the cameras. Okay,
use-
now what?
Okay, wait, what? Don't trust anyone. Use this for quick slash. Okay. We're gonna suck ass at those.
You can ping reagents while using camera, but they'll be alerted by a distinct. Ooh, okay.
So
Can
I can just imagine we're gonna be so bad at this. Like, is this just normal AI?
It's a normal AI.
I wonder. Oh, Jesus! It really does just throw us right in. Are they?
Oh god, I'm scared.
What is this map?
Invade? Oh,
Can they hear us like with our mics open?
But I'm not
no,
sure.
I don't think so.
Actually.
I am a friend of yours. Do not worry. Oh, do you think they bought it?
Imagine. Oh,
I don't know what map this is.
wait.
Cool.
Huh?
This is part of the
Oh.
police station.
Dr. Flair TTV has invaded. I can't really see. That's bad.
Oh, you can ping stuff too while you wait.
Yeah, you
Wait.
can ping the. Oh, there's Flair.
Oh god.
Where did they go?
Someone right there. Watch out, watch out. Right behind you. They're sneaking up.
Wait, view cameras. Oh.
There's also one right there.
Oh,
the
okay,
game, though,
this
that
is
makes
cool.
me really like this game.
Wait, you're spectating.
Okay, I can't take off.
They don't give you that many cameras. Oh, wait, there we go.
Okay, they're all over here in the evidence.
There's one in the courtyard too.
Hi.
I don't see anyone. I see Big Boy.
Oh, hi, guys.
The bad boy.
Owie.
Oh wait, you spotted it. Enemy.
Wow. Oh my god, that is disorienting. That's crazy.
Oh my god. Oh, my
they're
god.
just butchering me. Oh,
Oh,
my
they're
god.
just fucking you up.
Oh, shit.
You gotta retreat. Gotta retreat. Oh, I gotta right click
so
to go back to
glowy.
cameras. Okay. So I
Is that
think
off
they
the track?
can destroy.
Stab him. Get him!
Oh no, I think that's
stab him.
cop.
What is that?
Oh no!
Would that be you throwing a knife? That was weird.
I think it's a one-hit kill thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my god, it's like playing Myers.
I gotta ping on one of the guys. He's in the library.
Steven, flow, Steven, flow, Steven, Steven, flow.
Hurry, run, flow. Oh my god, chat is stripping. Chat, keep your clothes on, please.
Chat, please.
This is the
No, keep going.
oh,
Get
so
that
this is
clown.
a decent stream as we're watching these people do a mission where they're blowing the head off of Main in his underwear.
Who's that? Who the fuck is
Why is it?
I hear you. Oh, there we are.
Oh, return to the gate. Oh, yeah. Oh, there.
Okay, so okay, it does force you. Oh, there's a clown. I want the clown
Oh, I
outfit.
died.
Yeah. You have a certain amount of time to try and kill somebody, and after a certain amount of time, you have to get back to the gate.
Oh,
And
I
it
just
does,
got
it does look like we only have a
mollywopped.
certain number of like order for invaders. So Ash is currently the next one. And so pinging,
Oh,
I think,
God.
is our way to like guide.
Wait.
Yeah, it forces you in. You can see the countdown in the
Jammer.
top right.
Alright. Oh, okay. Oh god.
the X2? Is that our lives? X2?
I actually don't know. I thought so too, but it's been X2 for a while.
What a mystery this game mode is. Whoa, whoa, that guy's hiding! Watch out! Damn!
These guys know how to, I think these guys are actually imposter hunters. They wait for imposters to join just to bully them.
Can't run. Can't run.
Okay, I gotta put this away. How do I put this away? Okay. Hey guys, what's up?
Wait, hold to prepare stab.
Oh,
Wait,
Wait,
what's up?
I'm trying to figure this shit out. see,
Okay.
wait.
This
Boy.
is a very. Oh wait, no, wrong button.
nope, there's one behind you. There's
oh,
one
I can't
behind
go
you.
through there? Oh shit!
right behind
Wait,
you.
Did I hit something?
He's white
Wait,
behind
No,
you.
no,
He's
guys,
right
I'm
behind you.
cool, I'm
Oh
cool.
no!
He's gonna get you.
Did they
there's
have a
Nick
blind
again.
rig? I think they did.
Here's another one.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's a big guy.
Taco, turn
Wait,
around.
can I
These
not
guys
turn around?
attack us too. The
He's
big guys
behind
attack us.
you.
That's a good
Oh, there's another one
question.
right here.
Come here!
Oh god, I got a call.
Ow!
Oh, that's how it
Come
works.
here, let me
Okay.
fucking stab you!
Oh, wait, that's not a real human. What the fuck? Come here.
I think he's trying to DVD
Wait, is
you,
chat
bro.
starting a nudist colony? What the fuck?
What?
Okay.
Oh!
Yeah!
Is that a... Oh, somebody's using a fucking
Don't
blind
interfere too much
rig.
with the Xbox, because they'll technically attack you too.
Come here. No! No!
I'm a baby Disney!
I think only 2 can be out at a time, maybe, is what that X2 means.
I see.
Yeah, I'm on a
So-
timer for like a minute and 7 seconds or something.
Well, you can left click to join, can't you?
No.
No?
It says view
I have
camera,
view cameras. I'm
and
in the camera.
we can view our friends play and look at cameras.
It says there's 4 people in this game, but I've only seen the 2. The guy with the balaclava and the clown.
I got jumped by 3 people. They all like just.
Well, yeah, I got jumped
Get
in
him,
more. I
Goose!
just haven't seen the
No!
other 2 in a long
What?
time.
Stab him!
Okay, well,
Get
I
him,
see, I
Goose!
see the
I thought it charged,
the
but...
head pop guy that they're going to be looking
Whatever.
for. Oh, here he comes.
Oh.
Here's both. Here's one of them.
Ah! Oh! Die! I got him once. I got him
Here's
once.
the
I got...
I hit him once too.
got him. I got him. I got him. I'm proud of that.
Holy shit, that was so funny.
Hey,
Guys,
just
I'm
making
normal.
progress
Don't
in the
worry.
trial.
Normal.
I'm so normal about this.
Pippin, how are
guys.
you doing? How did he?
Oh shit.
Oh,
they're
Jesus.
sleeping now? Uh-oh.
Damn, they did that really fast.
I don't think we came in at the beginning. Oh, I'm at the start here. Hi.
I got to invade. Where am I?
Beat him up.
Yeah, I don't get how that charge
What?
stab
I
works.
don't wanna
at all.
do it.
Back. That's funny. You come here.
There's one running right here. Zombie.
Wait, I'm fucking blind.
Return to insertion gate already. Oh god,
now
I'm
it's you.
vomiting. Jesus. Oh, that's Coil.
Somebody got a jammer.
Oh my god.
I'm getting stun locked. Oh my god.
I think you have to
Where's
return
the
fast
fucking-
because it's like the end.
Oh wait, they all got in except one.
Yeah. It's the one that has the cool gold mask that I hadn't noticed. Oh, there they go.
Ah! Oh yeah, the golden shower thing.
Okay. The what? Is that what
golden
it's called?
shower.
26?
Yeah, it is.
Jesus, we didn't stand a chance. These guys are professionals.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That dude is prestige 26. Holy
I saw
fuck.
that.
We
No
didn't
wonder why
stand a
God.
chance.
He wants to feel something.
Well, D plus is passing.
The lowest prestige in that entire
He's
group
the
is
right
6. Yeah, those
shit.
guys have imposters turned on on purpose.
They're like, yeah,
I guess. Holy shit.
they're like,
I'm here to
We
get
want
the
the game
bonus
to be
points for the
harder.
rank system.
I didn't like that.
they're like, this game's too easy. I need to feel something.
I need extra difficulty.
I need to bully someone.
I need someone to feel bad.
Don't bully me. They bullied us.
Real, they really did. Holy shit.
I'm not wearing a mask.
Oh, I love it. I love it when he
Oh.
talks shit to us.
Oh.
You're like spoiled milk on the Last Supper.
Not
Do you
the
think that
spoiled
mask can
milk.
hide your shame from me?
He says so much shit like that. I love it.
Dude, I came out of
God,
this
so many
and
people
I saw
here.
this dude's ass.
To remind me of
Say,
leftover French fries from
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, do we want to try again or do we want to do a normal one? I'm down for trying again.
Let's do it one more time. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah,
I
let's do it. That
just-
was actually really funny.
I just wish I knew how the charge stab worked.
I
Yeah,
think
me
it's,
too.
if you get it, it's technically an insta kill,
Actually,
but it's
if you
better
have
to just
tickets,
kind
we
of
should
click.
probably get some. We should probably get some tickets, maybe. I need to read the tickets.
I do not have to.
Oh yeah, if you have like tickets to spend, I would go check and make sure you get some of the perks because they're really good. It's another one of those systems that's like once you have them, you don't want to give them up.
Carry a fake item to pretend you're a true.
Did you say a thick item?
A thick item.
Thick ass
Damn.
item.
Oh, I didn't realize I already owned so many. I already have 7 of
Reduce
11.
cooldown. There was
Move
no
faster
reduce
while preparing a
cooldown at
charge.
all.
Ooh, that'll be a good one next.
Well, I just bought all of them.
That's fine. I just haven't had enough tickets since this came out.
That's real strong. In time to return.
I just never spent my tickets at all.
No, I didn't
if
either.
you have tickets to spend, make sure you have like all the 3 extra like talents and stuff that you get from the lady in the cafeteria.
I mean, you
Go.
don't really have to. I
Okay,
haven't spent any of my
but
tickets.
slippers.
Oh no, that's the first thing I got.
That's the first thing I
Slippers.
got. This thing I've never let go of.
Nope, same.
This dude's friggin' room? What the hell? Santos works.
Whoa.
Oh,
Oh my god.
Oh my
Los
god,
Santos.
Goose, your room is so
This is my
it's so
room.
festive.
It's so festive and full of Christ. Jesus.
there's poker chips here.
What's so full of Christ? Jesus. Yes, you are right.
Jesus.
Where did this sink go? Why is the sink replaced with a radiator?
Because it gets cold in here.
I mean, that's a fair point.
You're right. You're right.
Because he's,
You guys want to see AI Jesus? There he is.
Wait, really?
He looks so
Oh.
AI.
No, that's not
kinda
AI
crazy.
Jesus. That's just old fashioned. That's just old fashioned like candle.
Old
Jesus.
fashioned AI.
This is the shit that you would walk into like your hyper Catholic family in like either
Santa
Southern
Maria,
United
Madre
States or
de
Central
Dios.
America.
Ruega por
The
nosotros.
amount the amount of art on this is 100%
Like, this
AI.
is not AI. This is just the kind of style of like
I
depiction
feel
of
like it
Jesus
is.
you would expect to find on candles.
No, yeah.
and then the pastor will tell you, like, yeah, no, we had someone paint this up. Like, yeah, it was a robot, wasn't it?
Oh, were you thinking of the one where like an old picture of Jesus was really bad, so just an old lady came up and just decided that she
Yeah.
could redo it better?
I love that one. And it's like a fucking simian. It looks horrible.
Oh yeah, it looks like a thumb.
we love the thumb.
I gotta make sure I claim tasks here.
No one's gonna know I'm here.
God, I hope we get a better map. I fucking hate that place too.
I usually know
I
know
hope
a
we can
lot
get
of the
people
maps,
that are
but
new.
there's some of the new ones I don't know.
Yeah, that too.
I love that. Hell yeah.
Come on, I'll beat you up.
It was crazy how much experience they give you for finishing tasks.
Shit.
I remember there was like a
shit.
brief controversy about this like chessboard being in the game. People were like, "This is gonna just like make MMR way worse. Nobody's gonna play the game. They're just gonna be playing chess."
There
I
are
don't think
achievements for winning. Like I think it's up to like
Yeah, like
1,000 games. in chess.
500. Yeah, it's way too much.
But it gives you cool shits.
But
Same
you
thing with arm
do
wrestling,
you do
too.
get a crown.
Like a
you get a
paper
crown. I was
Like a
helping
McDonald's
somebody do
crown.
that.
Take those on an empty stomach.
I had to play
Sunset
100
Shows still got
games
it? Oh my
of
God.
them winning.
I would make that like a goal on a stream.
Actually,
Play
this is
1,000
cute.
rounds in a row.
This is really
What,
cute.
chess?
No, the arm wrestling thing.
That's crazy.
How many do I have actually?
You just keep inviting people to the stream just to beat them in arm wrestling.
I can see
How
it.
many times?
All right, guys.
I
Today
ain't
we're
good at
doing a
this
stream.
game, but I'm
They
good at arm
announced new Twitch drops for Outlast Trials. Instead of actually going in and getting our pants scared off us, we're gonna sit here and play chess for the next 6 hours.
Wait,
Hell
what
yeah.
is it? I'll
One
sleep
hell
for
of a
him.
subathon idea.
I would love to do that.
I've only won 19
That would
arm
be kinda
wrestling
funny.
matches.
It's better than the time I did. Was it 4 hours or was it 6 hours of literally watching paint dry? I forget how long it was.
It's just 6 hours of you at the chessboard going,
Are you gonna win 500 games just
yes.
to get a headband, Mr.
That's
Goose?
actually not bad.
I
I
just
got
realized
24
there's a bunch
wins
of heads
already.
on the back of you. You have extra
shit.
heads. Listen to the news.
Oh, good. So, did you see the new outfit that they had? It was like a horse theme.
Oh
thing.
god, I just clicked to the news section where it's the Hear the
I know.
Horse outfit. I don't like that.
What is it?
If you
Where
hit
is it?
G and go to the
It's-
third one under the news, it's there.
we got it. We got it.
Oh, hey. Okay, you think it's gonna be the same group?
The chicken?
I'll check that out later then. Watch it be the same group.
I'm afraid. I think it is gonna be the same
I'll
group.
cry.
It's the same group. I'm gonna cry. They beat me up.
Just we'll look
just
in the
never
corner
seen
and see if it's the
26
same looking
that high.
people. I wonder if hitting tab will actually show us their names.
Oh,
They
good
just start
question.
hucking bricks at us.
Stop it, no. Just crying on the floor.
Please, mister, stop throwing bricks
It's
and
it's
bottles
that
at
one
me.
JoJo meme. Oh, there's only 3 people.
Oh, sick.
Oh my god.
You can kill him.
3 people? Thank God.
One of them's
Wait.
just standing there, not moving.
It's president.
Oh,
and
there they go,
trial.
there they go.
Oh, good. Oh, okay, shit.
Can't invade yet. Regis must progress. Okay, there's all 3 of them.
Oh my God, we're here. Wait, which one is this?
They're just
it's
fooling
okay.
around. Oh,
Vegas-
they must be new. Look at them. They look new.
Oh no.
Wait, they have
what's that?
shoes. They're not new.
I mean,
wait a
one of them has
minute,
like a
no.
full outfit too. True.
I can't even see.
Wait,
them.
How you know if they're
wait, I
not
can
new?
ping?
They got
Oh, I
shoes.
can ping them. I
Okay,
didn't know
you can ping
that.
them.
Yeah. Is this this is the one where they have to collect the kids in the different parts of the
I-
carnival and put them in the
Oh.
grinder.
Oh, they are new. I can hear their
Oh.
fucking feet.
Oh God. The wet slaps.
Is that the fake Dr. Futterman I keep hearing we're grinding, or is Gooseberry already out?
I'll say money.
Hey, is anybody out yet? I guess we're just looking right
Nah,
now.
they
No,
gotta-
it
they
says in the
gotta
top corner,
make
can invade,
progress.
Regis
Can
must
invade
progress.
every
So I think
day,
they have to get to the
invading.
grinder and
Oh.
do the like tutorial drop.
Yeah.
See, I'm telling you, they're new.
Yeah, I feel kind of
Oh my
bad.
God.
Do we?
No,
I
don't feel
I
bad. Kill
think we
them.
wanna
Kill
break
them.
them. Do we want to like help
We
them?
got
or
drop kicked last game. Why do you feel bad? Stop breaking
I'm gonna murder the
bottles.
shit out of them. I mean,
Oh man! All right, where did they go? I can't find them now.
I can't either.
They weren't here before, but oh Jesus! I don't like this head
Wait,
right here
you
next
ping
to the
their
camera.
location?
You
Wait,
say
I
we're
hear-
gonna. You say you feel
hear
bad
somebody.
for the watch. We're gonna fumble this bag of new people.
We're gonna
Yeah,
get
so
there
hard.
to start bullying us with bricks again.
Yeah, exactly.
they're gonna throw us in the grinder.
This is, it turns out that there is now there's a plethora of high level players that now pretend to be new players
Oh, here we go.
just
Finally.
to absolutely terrorize imposters.
Oh, there they are.
This person
Oh, he's
has
got
like
cute little
whole-
wings on.
Yeah, this is she has back bling and everything. I don't think she do.
I'm guessing we're gonna get more cameras. Oh, she's afraid of the mine.
Please blow it up. Blow it up.
Hi.
What do they have? Oh, they just do stun.
Oh.
Oh my God, you can do that?
Hey, what the hell?
They broke the camera. We can invade now.
I didn't know that. Holy
I didn't
shit.
know they could. Shit.
Go, Marin, go.
Holy-
Pretend like you're a new player. Be
kinda-
like, hello, fellow friends.
That's kind of cool.
Hello, immediate. Oh no, not the bottle.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Ow. Where did the person
Bottle
go?
weed.
Hi.
Oh, God. Oh, they blew up the,
They're at the maze. Maze exit.
Come here.
Bum, 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 bum.
Next invader. Make a taco.
Get him, Bruce.
Oh, cool.
Oh shit. Oh, you killed him. Good job.
I gotta leave.
Nice.
I'm going. I'm going.
Hooray!
You threw a brick at my camera.
Stab.
Do it, do it, do it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no.
They technically
She
got
took your
saved.
kill.
Holy crap.
Took your kill.
Oh, this is so mean. They didn't even make it to this tutorial. So I'm
Oh, that's
guessing
their
I'm
fault.
guessing if you hit the cameras, it means you can invade early. Ooh, wait, self-revive.
Ooh,
That's the
that's a
dimmer.
nice here.
Run! Sprints!
Wait, I need to look. Oh, oh, I see one right there. I pinged it.
Okay, that's the one that you're chasing. That's the destroyed
No.
camera.
They closed the door on me.
Oh no.
Okay, so they did at least start the grinder,
Oh, wait.
which makes me think maybe there is one. Oh, I hear you. Oh no, never mind. That's the cages.
Hello, fellow comrades. Hello, I can't
Like,
wait.
I'm gonna kill you.
Can they hear you?
I don't know.
Oh, it'd be funny if they could
Funny.
hear you.
Hey, friends, tell me where you are. Oh.
Oh, I'd be in so much trouble if
What?
if they could hear me. Just come up behind them. Hello, boys.
Oh.
Who's that?
How do you do the stab thing?
Oh, that's the kid. Never mind.
You hold?
That's
You
right
hold
click.
left click?
Right
Or right
click.
click, excuse me.
Right click is like clicking it is just the quick slash, but if you hold it, it does the charge up. And if you get to stab them when it's charged up, it's an
Oh,
execute.
boost. Oh, never mind. I thought that
so
was a
I have
person.
I have to hit him.
My bad.
after I fully charge. For some reason, it
I
feels
think
a
there's
little
somebody.
chain.
Oh, I found him. There we go. Downstairs.
Yeah, I don't. They haven't progressed out into the circus yet. Oh my god! Oh, sorry. I panned to the camera. The first thing I got was the kid statue drilling some poor man's butt.
Oh, that's kinky.
Oh, damn it. Hey,
Yeah,
what
these
the
new
hell?
generations are really getting into some weird things.
Where is? Oh, oh. Wait, is that the?
Entrance. Broken. Oh, I see somebody walking across where the broken
Can he?
camera is.
Can he attack you?
Oh, here's somebody.
Even when you're imposter? Yeah, I saw, I
Yeah.
saw him hit you. That's crazy.
Oh wait, no! I died to getting zapped. They had a zap rig.
Oh yeah, you get zapped if you don't go back to the exit when it tells you.
Well,
Oh.
I grabbed one of them out of the lockers
There's
in
somebody
their
there.
rig or something. Zapped the shit out of me.
Watch out, Goose.
It
There's
seems
the
like if
guy
you
right
get
there.
an execute,
God
it wants
damn
you to return immediately.
Ugh. Alright, I'm just gonna have to pass through him.
Because I was in there a very little amount of time, and I killed the person, and then it was like, go to the gate.
Run! Run!
I
Fly!
can't see
You!
anyone.
Is
I
that
don't
a
see
pair of
anybody on the
panties on
cameras
top of the
either.
hood of this truck?
Hey, guys, tell me where you are. I'm not gonna kill you. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Walk
I
in
doubt
like a
that works,
salesman.
but that'd be
Hi,
really
folks. How are you
funny.
doing? Care for a vacuum?
Hi. Hold on. Let me
I'd like to
stab you real
introduce to the
quick.
sharpest
Hold on.
vacuum this side of the Mississippi.
Hold on.
The Land Shark 300.
The land shark 300.
Pretty sure Land Shark's a vacuum company.
Got one.
Pretty
You get
sure.
'em?
I could be wrong.
I hit him once, yeah. I can't run when I'm charging. Alright, fine.
Yeah, there is a perk that
Oh,
you
what if I just go-
move slightly faster.
Can I really not just kill myself?
No, you just go to the gate.
No.
I don't want any evidence left behind.
No.
Yeah, I don't even see
Do we
him.
want to like? Oh, do we want to just like wait and kind of drip in to see if they can like kind of progress a bit more?
Yeah,
I'm
we-
going through the
like-
cameras. I can't find them.
Yeah, I, was gonna
I
say,
think that
mean,
right
they
now, I
should
think they're
relish.
stuck on doing the barn one, which is the like upstairs section.
I can't believe they destroyed that camera.
That's
Although,
what you're just tweaking
all
there.
you need to do is
That
throw
was
a
really
brick at the
funny.
camera. It's weirdly easy. They could probably destroy all the cameras if they wanted to.
I thought it was only for that one event that you do that. I didn't know that.
Well, in this
That
case,
was
it's
crazy.
Just,
The
it's
guy
just
just
for
looked up
imposters.
and he had a brick.
Oh, I get to invade in 20 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, bird.
But yeah, I think they're all upstairs. Also, I never
whoops.
realized the like terrifying face that is
Where'd it
right
go?
here above the map.
Oh, that is fucking.
I never noticed it till now. Okay, yeah. There's one right there. They're upstairs trying to get the
Upstairs. Okay.
barn boy. Because I think in this one you have to get the one before to progress forward.
Excuse me. Don't you do that to me, mister.
Because they have not gotten
You go,
any of the
bitch.
kids from outside.
Hmm.
I have a poster here they still haven't got.
That's a good question. What difficulty are these guys on? Does it say?
I think this is easy because there's literally only one enemy upstairs in the barn, and it's the Night Haunter. Yeah, and the boy they're looking for is right here.
No, they broke another camera.
They're
These
totally
bitches.
new.
Oop, easy.
No!
Ow.
Yeah,
Why
so
can't I
they haven't
fucking
figured
run?
out. Like this button hasn't been pushed.
Ouch.
So yeah, I
Well, we
think
have a lot
they're
more
very new. They may have one person
Look
that's
at ya.
helping them, but I'm
Look at
thinking
ya. Ouch.
Let me get you.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
you're just laughing with a knife.
Fucking up left and right. It's just funny.
yeah, I don't think they're coming up here. I think they're hiding. I think they're downstairs.
I keep seeing like their silhouettes downstairs.
Yeah,
and
that's usually- that's when they
upstairs
make
and
noise.
Here and there.
Oh,
Oh.
dang it.
So when they make noise, they alert us.
Yeah, they broke
Gotcha.
two of the whatever amount of cameras.
I see ya.
I'm good.
I hear them.
Gucci, Gucci, Gucci.
I thought that was a human.
Hello.
Come here, fucker. Arr!
Oh.
Knife is not ready. What the fuck does that mean?
Knife is not. You gotta recharge it.
You'll have to reload your knife.
Oh my god, that's so dumb! Don't you slam that in my face. What the fuck?
Come on. There's two of them hiding right here. Come on. I'm trying to get them to come out and come do the mission.
Why are you attacking me? I'm on your side, fucker.
They also have guiding mannequins. There are mannequins that guide you in this game.
Yeah. They
What?
point in the direction you're supposed to go, usually at the start of the zone.
Yeah.
I got a D+. Am I good?
Hi.
Am I a good
D+, I
player?
got a
Am I a good
D+.
gamer?
They're great.
Yeah, I would say
Oh my
you're
God.
pretty
Are y'all
close.
Yeah.
coming, or are you just gonna keep walking away?
Get him. Fuck him up.
Yeah, they just keep going backwards.
They're scared.
Have they even...
There's only two of them, though. I can't find the third
to
one.
be fair, if I saw you walking at me with a knife, Marin, I also would be scared.
I'm walking them all the way back to the exit.
Out of time.
Oh, kill him!
shit.
Kill him!
Yeah, I'm out of time.
No, not even for one little kill.
Come on, get him!
No.
I can't. I'm too
Oh,
slow.
yeah.
Too slow.
Oh. I
That's
don't like
fine.
the charge thing. It's stupid.
It's not that you can't run afterwards, but it's an execute, so it doesn't matter how much health they have.
Oh.
Maybe I should have just gotten behind them and just chased them forward.
It's like learning how to
we killed
play
one
new
person,
killer
but
in
it said
DVD.
they self-resurrected. So there's a third
Yeah,
person
they
Like
probably
somewhere.
something their rig.
Orange. Yeah.
Let's see, where are you fellas at?
But they're like semi.
All right, I guess it's my turn to come
Okay,
in.
we have somebody who has the boy right here. Go get him.
Our flanger hasn't made it.
Yeah, it's the one with the wings. Although I think they just ran into the Night Haunter. Being scared of Meriden, the big 22-6? I'm terrifying, please and thank you.
I would say.
I can't find them.
I say, put on my glasses. Terrifying.
My glasses.
Oh
I'm
shit!
terrifying. I play spooky games and you will learn things.
All right, I'm back.
Get him, Ghost.
No,
I got a
regular
stabbing on
man.
one of them and then had to leave.
At this point, we're basically just playing like, what is it? The like horse whipper. Just poke him in the back. Go forward.
Oh gosh. Work it is.
I literally, there was one dude walking away from one of the,
Oh, wait.
the
How many
dudes, and I
cameras
just
is-
came up behind them and stabbed them. I probably
Yeah.
scared the shit out of them.
Oh my god,
Hello?
2 of the cameras are done.
Friends. Hello.
How'd you turn red
Yeah,
like that?
I don't
Like a
think they can
creature.
hear us. Because when I tried to talk to them, they didn't respond in any way. They just kept running away.
I mean, to be fair, if they could hear us talking, it would give us away that we're the fakes. 'Cause
Wait,
we're
what the
not-
fuck? Oh,
Well, true, but I think it'd be a little bit more fun to be able to like antagonize them.
Oh.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
impersonating
1000%
somebody.
agreed. Be like, hey, what's up, fucker? Stab.
Irma, where are they?
They probably did it because they didn't want people
Oh,
just
shit.
to the usual,
Gamer words.
yeah, the usual like gamer PvP words.
Yeah.
I saw
Run, Mitchie, run!
Not a penis.
Sprint, Mitchie, he's gonna keep beating your ass.
I can't. What
What do you mean you can't sprint? Are you holding
I
the
just
knife
can't.
at the ready? You don't need to do that.
No. I just can't sprint. Oh no. I have no. I have
Oh,
no
you don't.
ability.
You didn't get the perk to sprint.
Nope.
Oh, I forgot that was a perk.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Don't attack me.
Oh, that's you.
I'm a creature like you. What the fuck?
I'm a creature, baby.
Yeah, sadly you were not immune. Okay, here they are. There's 2 of them. They're coming up to the barn. Although, they've already.
You don't leave me
Oh,
alone.
there's Night Haunter.
I'm confused.
Oh, I didn't see them. Oh, I didn't see them. Oh, wait, I think he did now. Oh, yeah, they started
How do I-
sprinting.
There we go.
They got the kid. I don't think they know that they need to go out the other door.
I'm confused. I found the button that they need to push though.
Yeah. Nash.
Ooh. Yeah.
They're all back
Lost.
inside in the main section of the barn.
Oh, okay.
That's 2 of them were upstairs. I'm trying to figure out where the 3rd one is.
Yeah,
figure
I'm
out where the
looking
barn's
right
at.
now. It doesn't help that 2 of the cameras are broken, unfortunately.
No.
Wait. Oh, no, that's zombie I just saw. I was like, oh, a person with legs. Oh,
That's a screamer.
I just saw what you saw.
That was a butthole.
That sure
Finger and
was.
butthole.
Your butthole.
Wait, where the?
Oh,
Where
they,
the
oh,
fuck
they
is
just turned the
the
camera in the
barn?
grinder room? Shit.
I am a lost and confused little creature.
Okay, so I think my goal is going to be to chase them back downstairs and out the other door.
Are you going to give me the? Is he going to scream at me?
only two of us can be out at a time.
Yeah, that's what I think the
Oh,
X
fuck,
up there
I
is.
can't
I
find
think
the
if
barn.
people are doing like harder game modes. Also, can we take the
Maybe.
posters? Oh no, we can't take the posters.
Imagine if we could take the propaganda.
That'd be funny.
I also wonder if it depends on how many players.
Good lord.
You know what?
You have the little wings on your back.
Oh, hi.
Marin. You have the little wings.
Oh, I'm the winged person. Saw
Alright.
this
Yeah.
door closed. Where did you go?
Look, I can kill anybody. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've only gotten the barn one so far, so I'm gonna go look upstairs and see if they're still up here.
Wish invaders could have a gadget. See through walls.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only place I could think of, considering 2 of our cameras are broken. We can't look in those areas.
It's kind of fine with
I
those
miss
right now because
Ash.
those are kind of beyond what we need.
Oh, okay.
Somebody
That's why it
there's
also
also
spawned me
versus
way out in the circus,
Wait, let's
so I had to
see.
run all the way back here.
Oh, they're by me. I just saw 3 friggin' auras right as I
Oh, I
spawned
see them.
in.
Okay, they've gone outside now finally. Yeah, you can also tell that these are new players because this is almost certainly beginner difficulty.
Oh, There we go. I pinged one.
And they're gonna have like at this rate, like a 50-minute runtime.
Yeah, forget we're on a long level.
This is also, I think, one of the first ones you get. Oh, I see one of them.
The levels? The first one's the
Ow! He hit me with a
snitch
bottle!
one. A bottle.
Gotcha. I got an execute off.
Nice.
Oh, he closed the door on me.
You're killing it. Holy shit.
Hello.
Killing them.
Better than us.
Okay, where's the door? Where's the door?
Oh,
I'm going, I promise. You don't need to zap me. Are you hunting people? Yes, yes we are. We're playing the imposter game mode. Where we get to
That's kinda
invade
funny.
other players' games.
I was at an A until they hit me with a fucking bottle across the head.
Oh.
Oh, I missed my score.
The
I don't think you
imposter-
can see the score unless you're actually invading.
Yeah.
Or
I'm at
the
a-
invader
I'm at a
made's
B-
really funny.
I'm at
This is
a
actually
B
really
right
fun. I
now.
like this.
I'm actually having a lot of fun with this.
Oh, good lord, that cow. Oh, that's the Night Hunter that's still wandering around.
But yeah, they're traveling as a pack because they can't trust the fact that
Oh, there's. Oh no, never mind.
There they
they're
are.
all.
Castle outside.
They're all crouched inside one of the booths.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
that.
they're all hiding together. It's really.
Nope.
I'm gonna pretend I don't see them, but I really do. Hi. I got one. I got one.
Let's go! Yeah! Go, Goose, go!
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
God!
very
The
new game
same
mode.
guy every time too.
Die. Oh, guys, I'm so glad we don't have that guy in here, huh? I'm so glad he's out there, huh, guys? Oh my God! Oh, wait, let me out! Let me out!
Goose,
With the banana suit? Oh no.
Holy
I
shit.
just watched Goose mollywop this guy.
He closed the door on his friend outside. I was like, "Whoa, so glad he's out there, and we're in here."
There's one
Wait,
person
can I open this
on the other
door?
side of this
I
wall.
can. Oh my god.
Banana suit. What
This
outfit
wall?
looks like a banana suit in this game?
There's a banana suit in this game?
That's,
So
this
they're
is
out
what somebody
there
in
and we're
chat
in
said.
here.
Or maybe it's just an all yellow outfit.
You
I
don't mind
wanna
if
know
I
is
slide
where's
this
the caveman?
knife between your ass cheeks, do you?
Oh,
Just-
I already have to invade? Damn, that was quick. We're getting quick turnover
Yeah.
now.
Oh, what?
Ooh,
Oh, they
Two
kicked
of
the
them
door.
are
Oh,
bleeding out.
damn. Oh my god, are we actually doing good? I
Yeah, we
say
can
is
kill-
I think
kill the
Aaron
last
and
one.
Jamie
Goose is
guys.
doing all doing it all.
Oh, I found her. Oh, hi.
Oh my god, dog! Dog!
Oh, it's a bash thing? Oh.
in there, in
Wait.
there. Yeah, get that motherfucker. Yeah, kill him. Yeah.
Yeah! Yeah!
Yeah! Oh
Oh my God.
I'm gonna stick it. I'm gonna stick it. Come here. Damn it. I'm not gonna be able to stick it. Oh, I wanted to get it while the collar was
no! Oh,
beeping.
no, it's you. I was about to stab you.
The hazard yellow
Where'd they go?
suit? Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes
Oh
sense.
no.
They went through me. What the fuck?
Also, you guys, I just want to say
Yeah,
thank
they
you for
did.
all of the stream streaks.
Oh,
I do
stop.
see them. I do see
You
all the
go,
stream
motherfucker.
streaks. Jesus Christ, 85 on Void. I think Carrie had 80.
Oh, that's the one. Oh, you still got him.
75 on Lumpkin.
Oh, they're dead. Oh wait, no, that's not. What?
That's a different one. That's the one that I
What the fuck?
executed.
Did you see that?
That's the one I
was just-
executed.
Damn.
Wait, where are they? Did they go back inside? In here?
Thing too is they can. Oh, there they
Come
are.
here, motherfucker!
They can still resurrect that person. Which I thought they were about to go for.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Oh,
I didn't
The
see
sound
that.
trap just exploded next to you.
There's you. Wait, where?
Trip? What was
Oh my
that?
God.
she jumped over the mine.
The little jumpy
Oopsies.
jump.
That's why it's called the trip mine, huh? All right.
Oh, I see
Okay,
you
there's
fuckers.
still one of the boys here. Let me actually see. If I go back to the broken one with the zombie, turn back around. Turn back around. She's standing in the corner right there.
In the corner.
She's right next to you. You walked right past her. That's so funny.
I'm so fucking blind.
No, I just looked at the camera and saw you go past. I was like, wait, that was her sitting there in the corner.
Oh my god, that was funny. Oh, at
Okay,
least we got
there's
one
one.
guy.
Just watch a goose fucking. Oh, thank God.
Get him, Goose, get him.
Thank God you got rid of him. Oh.
Okay, where's the grinder
here.
camera?
There's one right
Grinder
here.
camera.
Wings
There it
are-
is. I was trying to see if I could see the lights for which ones they've like ground
They're,
up, but
they're
I still can't see
resurrecting
it.
their teammate right over here.
Where?
They're-
Oh, yep, they
are
rested him. Okay,
Oh
they're,
yeah, I
they're
see him
back
right
to 3.
there.
The moment
Hallie,
Chad
what-
string strips, then it's a problem. Yeah, because you're taking your clothes off in public.
Take your clothes off when you're home, not in public.
Yeah.
No, take him off now.
Wait,
All right,
what?
Chad, you heard
Be
Ash.
free.
Get the
You heard,
strip
you
emotes
heard,
out.
you heard her.
You be free now.
Tits out for Harambe.
Ah, yes, where the timeline all went wrong.
Oh, I see him right here. They are.
Yeah, they're all three heading that way.
Yeah, look at that.
I lost vision of them.
I see them. They're on me.
What?
Okay.
I like how they gently close the door. I'm like, oh no. Oh goodness.
That was scary.
Oh, scary. I'm gonna
Just
shut the
seeing
door.
what the slide animation looks like when you're not the one doing it, kind of cool. Not gonna lie.
Huh? Why am I here? What? Huh? What?
Ooh, uh-huh.
Oh, I
Get
didn't
him,
know.
Gross!
I didn't know it was my turn.
Why are we all going for the guy with the wings? It's so funny. Yeah, get him!
Chicken
Yeah!
wings. That's the reason.
I hear them.
Huh.
Wait, they were talking in game at me, but I killed them.
Oh my god. No, I can't imagine
The
slurs
kid's
it's
right
being
underneath
said.
me. What is this person doing?
I don't know what language they're speaking. It was not English.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Oh god, I just hear the screams.
Damn!
Sorry. Oops.
Oops,
Sorry,
I'm a little silly
start
girl.
over.
Jay
Game
tricks.
over.
Like,
Maybe
did I
that's
do
why they
that?
didn't
I just
respond. Maybe they
slipped.
don't speak English.
You're right. That's
They
all
don't
right.
speak English. At least the one with wings didn't.
Yeah, maybe that's why they didn't react to me or talking to them earlier.
Oh my god, that was funny.
Did I do that? Just stabs them.
Did I do
Yeah,
that?
do that.
Clumsy me.
Oh my god, there's a filter machine.
Wait,
So
space.
there's one of them.
Shuttle?
Oh, here's the person.
Wait,
She has one kid in her arm and she's
Are they-
at the other one.
space shuttle? Wait. Is it in the barn?
Somebody's talking. It sounds like an X-pop though.
Yeah, I don't think it's them.
Okay, she's... Yeah, this person looks very confused.
They're gonna turn this game mode off after this game, I bet you.
Oh, for sure.
They're like, these guys are so mean to us. They stabbed us.
Oh. Wait.
Oh, blade.
Look, there's one
Pop
right
my
there.
X-poppin'? Oh no. Oh, it's the giant.
XP popping. Oh,
When they be popping.
Okay, they got the guy that was... They got the boy statue that was doing the butt drill.
The butt drill. We love this.
The butt drill.
Screamer.
Oh my god.
The poor wings. It's always the one with the wings.
No. Don't let him get away.
I banged him.
Oh, I see one person back at the start. Hello.
Oh my goodness.
Kicks in door.
Oh no, this guy doesn't know where to go.
Come here. Come here. Come here. You missed.
Okay. Wow. What a miss.
Zombie over here with ultra instinct just dodging the bottle like, nah, it's your turn.
Here, I'll feed him again.
come here. Ow. How? Get out of here.
Oh, now
What's that?
they're cornered. Oh, nice.
Oh, charge it up, zombie. Charge up your knife.
Oh, I can't. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Knife
it
is
takes.
not-
You
you dick.
need like you need
You
energy.
stupid
for that.
bitch.
Oh,
Wait, where'd she go?
noise trap just went off. Hi.
Fucking
Where'd she go?
Armstrong.
Am I blind?
Hey, got another execution. Oh shit, the bash. Oh, she had a bottle. Good job.
Oh, there's one. Come on, bitch.
Hi.
Get her.
Oh, I was trying to go for the charge
fucking
stab. I
run
should have just gone for the
around.
quick stab.
I'm all sleepy. Hi.
Oh no.
No, I thought somebody was back here. That's fine. Oh. Oh, this is the jumpy lady.
Yeah,
Now that I
I
got a
don't
few stabs
imagine.
in. Now that I have a few
I don't
stabs
imagine
in, yeah,
people-
this is pretty fun.
All right, anybody got eyes on them? Don't forget to ping them.
It's so funny. It's really, really
Oh,
funny.
Way back
Right
there.
Oh,
Oh shit.
come here. Come here.
Oh, there's both of the boy statues sitting right here in the
Come here.
diner.
Come here, little fella. Yeah.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah,
Oh my
get her.
god, yeah, that's.
Oh, hell
you.
yeah. Run, zombie, run.
I don't wanna. Come on.
Oh, the
That's funny.
slow close is what bumped me away.
Oh my god.
Come back here.
Oh, this shit's so fun. We're so bad at it.
That's
How come we
fine.
get
The thing is,
unlimited
though, is that
retries?
it's supposed to be harder to kill everyone. Like, we don't technically
getting a good
perma-die
rate.
if we go down.
Don't we have X number of lives? Is that what that thing in the corner is?
No. The 2 is the number that we can have out at a time.
Yeah. It's gonna be your
I
turn.
thought the
first.
top. I thought
it
the
was
top
live.
right. Yeah, I thought that was lives.
No,
Because
'cause
went
it hasn't
when
gone
I
down this whole
died.
time.
It went down once. It's at 1 right now.
It's at 2 on my side.
Oh,
Same here.
Weird.
Oh,
Oh,
maybe
is
it's
it-
personal
oh.
lives.
Oh.
Okay, so we do have a limited number of lives. That makes sense.
I'm confused. Let's see.
Just means you're all better than me.
No, I'm shit.
we all die and just turns into watching these people finish the game.
It just because of 50-minute runtime of them find out where these kids go.
Welcome, welcome,
to
ladies and
invade.
gentlemen.
Time to invade.
I think the poor thing too is the fact that there's more invaders than there are actual reagents.
Yeah, that's kind of mean.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. Oh,
Wait, I hear
Oh,
something.
I didn't see her.
Here.
but there
I
was
saw
somebody right there in the
there.
doorway. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
there they are.
Right there, right there.
I gotta say though, this is a very cool system. I like this game mode. Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It'd only be more interesting if they gave us a point where we got to play the
Bigger ones.
yeah, the prime assets. I don't know though. They may give some of the that we were talking about gamer words earlier. Imagine running from Coil when he's throwing actual slurs at you.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna try and get this person's attention. They trust me. I did the T-back. Oh wait, no, they don't trust me. No. Yep,
Can you
they
do
don't trust me.
emotes?
It's like I'm playing a FNAF game with these fucking cameras.
Oh, what the hell?
Remember that time I
Up in the
played
barn?
FNAF? Yeah, they're in the barn.
God, the limited stamina is killing us. Damn.
Yeah, too bad when you buy the ticket for it, it fucks us anyway, so there's no point to it.
Haunted object.
Haunted object? Oh no. Welcome back to I'm on observation duty. Outlast edition.
Where are our friends?
See one here in the diner. I don't know if they've picked up the statues of the boys that they left in here.
One of them's getting executed.
No, one of them. Okay, there it is. Nice.
Yep.
Okay, so there's only one left. That may be the one in the diner that I just saw. Okay, yeah, I see the sounds of the. Oh, they're still in the diner.
I'm at an A+ now, baby. Let's go.
She's just sitting there.
She
Menacingly.
said, "Fuck this."
But yeah, I think those 2 statues of the boys are still also sitting in the diner on the floor because I can see their captions popping up.
Oh, you said she's at the diner?
Yeah.
I don't see her.
She's behind the counter.
Oh, I see her.
She's just healed. So there's pixie dust everywhere.
Pixie
Yeah, no,
dust.
that poor guy just executed, got clubbed, and then I proceeded to stab the shit.
I feel really bad for them. I feel a little bad for them too.
But to be
Impersonating
fair,
the guy I have to kill.
Get him,
Also-
Goose.
also to be fair though, half of us are brand new to this game mode, so
All of us are. I hadn't played this until now.
yeah, I was
No,
gonna say
same.
I am.
Same for Goose too.
Oh, no,
I
I guess
believe.
we're all new.
I was gonna say I hadn't gotten a cue to pop until today.
Yeah.
He's like, please, I just want to
Damn
do
it.
the objective.
You got Donald Duck on your back.
On your back.
You got Donald Duck on his back.
It ends with the one with the wings on their back.
The one that looked like they knew what they were doing.
God damn it. Where'd it go? No, not you.
Yeah, that person
Okay.
just gets angry at the air sometimes.
Let's look at
Me
the
too.
cameras.
It is kind
Honestly,
of fun
me
though
too.
in this game mode, getting the chance to actually like look at the setting more than when you're running for your life.
Yeah, I actually, I'm like, cool, I get to actually look at this map? This is kind of sick.
Yeah, all right.
I still say this game is up there as one of the best multiplayer horror games.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
watch out for Larry.
It's all Goose's fault that I really, really like this game.
Sorry. Oh, you poor
'Cause
thing.
I didn't like this game at first, but
Oh,
it
you
got
poor
a lot
thing.
more fun.
I have
I
a
know,
bunch
how
of friends
very-
that have the game that played it when it was new, but now they won't play it anymore because they don't like it. And I'm like, well, shit.
See,
Um,
I have the.
It was
see,
just really shitty when it first came out.
I played this. A friend got it for me, and then after buying it for me, and we played like 2 or 3 times. Stopped playing. I was like, well, I just have this game now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah!
Execute.
Hey, what the hell? That's mine. That's mine. He's mine.
Mine.
Mine. Mine. Mine. Okay, he's yours. He's yours. Mine. He's
He's
yours.
mad. He's so mad.
He had to get a hit in so your score couldn't be a good. He's like, all right, let me whack this guy real quick. He's doing too well.
Holy
Because it's
shit.
different from the original series.
Yo, look at all of us. A+, baby.
Yay!
Oh my god, I'm a fucking feral.
You killed one person.
That was a 35-minute match. Jesus.
Well, that's I won't say that's technically a normal match.
I'll be up twice. Let's go.
I got new pants. I like thank you for the
Well,
sub.
Fun.
I just like the idea that you level up and someone throws a pair of pants at you. Just like,
Wait,
here
what
you
the
go.
fuck?
Congratulations. Here's your pants.
Why are we here?
It's probably their version of leaving this when you actually win, maybe?
Where's my pants?
Oh yeah,
I don't
that's
know what.
You don't wear
interesting.
pants, Goose. You don't have pants on to begin with. You're a Chikawa. With the
No.
pants.
Chikawa.
Wait,
Yeah,
what are
with
they
the
doing?
leaf. You just have a leaf down there.
Or Chikawa. I don't know why I said Chikawa. I'm so dumb.
Chihuahua. Like Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
Wait, is it swapping us?
What are we doing like an actual game now?
It forces. Is it forcing us to do an actual game?
And we will let you
I don't
Wow.
know. Do you think it swapped us? Do you think they're imposters now?
Maybe.
Oh no.
Trust no one.
It's fine. It's fine. We speedrun it.
Wait, I don't know what rig I have on.
It's fine. You'll be able to tell if we get in.
There's something.
Oh god, it's this chick with the duck drill.
Wait. Load out. Oh, X-ray. That's fine.
Okay, it's fine. We
What's
know
that?
how the game goes. We have one extra player. We'll be over in 10 minutes.
You say that, and then they get a prestige 20.
We've been sharked. We've been sharked like this is pool.
If it was an MK one, it'd be faster.
I'm scared.
It's so weird. I wonder why it.
don't
I
know.
hope I didn't hit the
Maybe
like
it's
wrong
a brown-
button
I
in
wonder-
the. in the lobby thing at
Oh.
the end.
Well, we're in it. Oh, look, it's the same
Oh, it is the
level.
division. Okay.
Oh.
Perfect.
Oh, damn. All right.
Places to be, things to
You
do.
said
Oh, the head's
like it's our turn
still
now.
here.
God, I'm so much
Yeah, look-
faster. Oh, God.
Say, look for cameras.
Oh,
Oh, there it is.
Night Lord, Haven Sunshine.
of course.
Wait. I wonder if I could see them through the X-ray. That'd be nice too.
Look for the cameras wherever those are. Make sure they
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for too.
Well, who's that? Who's
you?
that? Nope. Behind you, behind you. Why'd you hit me with that?
I missed.
Oh, it is you. That's what I was just asking.
Ow, fucker.
Oh, I don't know. I don't trust you.
So there's no names over people's
Right?
head.
Knowing that there's
no,
there's
just-
imposters.
There's the camera.
I'm
We're all. I
behind
mean,
the
we were
badge.
all imposters once. How can I trust you guys?
Imposter,
right.
bro.
Pasta. Let's see.
It's me, dude. It's
I want
me.
to
It's
look
me.
for the cameras.
I'll even prove.
Oh, I
Ow!
didn't mean to use that shit.
Scared me. You scared me.
Oh, we had something.
You scared me.
Don't worry, we'll go in packs of 2. What's the worst thing that can happen? Propaganda poster.
Fuck off! No!
Oh, Ash started getting
No.
executed. Oh shit.
Fuck you, dick!
Okay. I found the
Okay, I
children.
found the child.
Wait, where am I?
I have this open.
Where is the? Oh, is this how you unlock it? Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Oh, fine.
I got the children.
Get the children! Wait, there's a camera somewhere here. I know it.
Oh, watch out.
Help! Help! He wants the children.
He hit me. It's okay. You're good. Keep running.
Thank
Alright,
you.
I got one
I
of the
trust you
boys.
now.
Oh, now you trust me.
I don't think we actually have
ouch.
any.
Oh my God, I'm getting fucked up. Who is this? Oh, it's Ashley.
Hello!
Well, imposter Ashley.
Ah!
Okay, so we do have imposters.
Yeah, I'm dying.
There's one inside the barn, so be careful.
Thank you.
Oh, oh! Ah, I'm being
Oh,
stabbed
no!
by myself! Oh, God!
No!
Teammate
No,
kill!
I'm
No!
getting tired.
Knife Lord
Okay,
TTV just killed me.
Knife Lord.
TTV.
Knife
yeah.
Lord. I'll say it's different people then.
Ouch. Jesus.
How do I fucking get out of here?
Marin's like, we'll do
We'll go
this
around
in
in a
10
circle.
minutes. Both of us.
Hold on, let me revive my friends. I don't know how to help you, Goose. Wait, where's the thing?
I would get Goose.
You stay right there, mister. You stay there too.
I don't know why, but my brain was like, the zombie's gonna throw a brick at my corpse.
Oh,
Oh my God.
do you fucking mind? Do you fucking mind? God. Oh, get out of here.
Oh
That's me. That's me. What are you doing?
Oh, is it? I didn't see your name above your thing.
There's no names.
Above your character.
There's no names.
Oh, is there not? I didn't know that. Why can't I get the fucking syringe? Oh my
As I'm
God,
trying to get to
gonna
the one that's marked
fucking-
way out here.
I'm gonna kill
God, I
myself.
almost hit that trap. Watch out for that one.
Coming back. Okay.
I wish I had my stun rig. This is bullshit.
I wish I weren't dead.
It's okay. I'm coming to get one
I'm
of y'all.
trying to save you.
I looked myself in my own eyes and died. It's kind of
beautiful.
crazy. It's kind of poetic.
Alright, wiki wiki goose. There's somebody right behind me, isn't there?
Oh!
Motherfucker!
Boy.
Yeah.
Oh
there sure
no,
was.
we're fucked.
Haven Starshine. That is a hell of a name.
It sounds like a
Even
stripper. name.
Starshine. Oh, that
So,
sounds
so are they
cool.
just are they just camping the reses? I'm thinking.
That's what I think they're doing.
Oh, don't
boring.
scream in my face. Screw did they
They,
face?
they got slippers.
Oh my god, fuck off. Leave me alone.
I just hit F to try and turn off your night vision.
I'm so used to having it on, honestly. Goose, get up.
Might be me.
Get your ass
Oh yeah,
up.
it is me.
I dropped my syringe right there, so you can get another one up.
Hold up.
That's stamina.
There you go.
Here, I will grab the child.
Now, the syringe is right
I was
underneath
gonna say
you.
you can get. I was gonna say get Marin up.
Me or
Okay.
you. You've been down longest. I'm fine staying down longer.
Hey, no, that's
Yeah, but
not.
you're
Oh
the
god, I
wide
got
one.
killed by myself.
Oh,
Keep coming up on the
Kill
bit
yourself.
we're trying to res people.
Is that you? I can't tell.
He's running.
No,
The other one's behind you. The other one's behind you.
Oh! Not evil goose!
he just honks at
Ah,
you.
shit.
Right. Oh shit.
Fuck off!
What ring do
This
you
sucks
have?
ass! I have X-ray.
Oh shit.
Fuck.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Oh wait. Oh. I forgot about my dailies. That works.
He's ready steady on that.
No,
Oh,
Goose,
God.
don't kill me. No.
got you.
Ah!
He's still bleeding out, unfortunately.
God damn it, why are they all locked?
It's because they locked them. Because we can.
Oh
interact
my god, that
with
was
those,
funny.
I think.
So how do you do the self res? You just have to have the
Oh.
syringe on you.
Jammer?
Oh, he's trying to execute.
Jammer.
Oh,
actually,
Jammer's the one that
maybe
does it?
it's either syringe or the pills that you get to revive yourself.
Gotcha.
hear
Ouchie,
footsteps.
I
Uh-oh.
died.
Getting taco up.
I'll find you.
Jammer.
Oh, it's me. Oh shit.
God.
Yep.
Here, have this.
Thank you. Oh,
I
you
was
have one
gonna say-
too? Good.
I was gonna say, you guys got fairy dust and all that. I in fact don't. I think I got the stun ring.
All right, we need to
Okay.
get some. We need to get some kids. We need
My
boys.
dailies.
I mean,
Let's hear it for the boss. Oh, I got too used to going through cameras.
I know, me too. I'm like, man, why can't I
Like,
do
where's
this
the
fucking
camera been?
screen?
I don't think we have any more syringes on the map.
Oh, you're both healers too.
Whoa. What the hell?
What the helly?
Detected by imposter
Skelly?
camera. Oh no.
Oh, you need to fucking break that shit.
Yeah. I do.
Oh, that's the noise. So every time we ping, it makes a camera click noise.
Yeah.
it is. Where's the children?
The child.
Kill them.
Kill the children. I guess I'll use this.
That's
This.
I threw the one in the barn, and there was one on the ground, which I guess was from somewhere out here in the circus.
There's no more children.
Oh boy,
Oh
Bob.
wait,
Thank God.
behind you, Goose, there should be a camera up above.
Oh yeah, it's true. In this spot, I think. Unless it's gone.
Yeah,
it?
Or not
is
in
that
this
it
one?
right there?
I don't know.
It should be this corner was where it was. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that is.
That's
a
light.
camera.
No, that's a
it?
light.
It looks like a
That's
light.
fixture.
No,
Yeah.
it's that box right there.
That box?
It's a huge gray box. All right, there's a kid.
I'll look for it later.
Okay.
Oh, you pinged it.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's good to know. We can just randomly ping an area and be like, is that it? No. Is that it? No.
No.
It's a huge fucking gray box. It's a very much a 60s 60s camera. Jesus,
Oh,
where's
it's
the
already
door?
broken, that thing.
Why did the screamer go off? Oh shit. Oh shit. Please tell me that's you.
No. That's me.
Okay. The giant was just here.
Oh,
I
that's
see.
so lame. I thought the names would like be above our heads.
I think it does it this time around. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I saw it.
The fucking scream. He's like, that was a scream. I'm about to get touched.
I I was about to get touched. I just had to do. I had to do a 5-foot standing jump.
I'm gonna get done.
Oh, I'm actually gonna use that.
What the fuck was that? You throw something?
Yeah, there was something.
Okay, I'm trying to get in here so I can get this kid. How many are we missing right now? Oh, we've only gotten 2. Okay.
You need 2 more.
Yeah, I can't.
So I've
find
got
no
1
children.
here.
Can't find the
Oh,
children.
God, screaming.
Ah.
You've been detected by the imposter camera.
Oh, hi. There's.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, there is one.
That's the priest. Fucking Christ, dude.
That's
I
the
found the
priest. Oh, there you go. You found a
I
child.
forget how to swap.
Oh,
on.
scroll. Scroll wheel.
Why
If
aren't
you're
you
using
stunned?
keyboard and mouse.
All right, I got the children.
Get the children.
I got the children.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. God, where do I deliver this child?
To the grinder.
Where's the grinder?
You have to go to the fucking
I'm just gonna fill the skulls.
barn. Oh yeah.
I was gonna say it's an
Yeah, that
app you
works.
usually have to download.
Grinder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Is there not going to be another
Oh, yeah.
syringe near the entrance?
Grinder's overhyped. Used it once.
I
Never
wouldn't
again.
know.
How's that experience?
Mostly spam bots, honestly. They're like mostly fake people that
Oh,
are like,
cool.
"Hey, I'll love you if you give me your social security number." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay."
Okay, but did you do it?
Only my social security? You got it, Mr. Robot.
Do you
I
come
think
with
there's
me?
one back
Yes.
here too.
God damn it.
I thought there was, unless it's just random every time.
No, the imposter camera got me. No.
Oh, no, 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 no,
No, Mr.
All right, did you pick up the
Imposter.
one that I dropped, or did you find another one that was attached?
I found a new one.
Okay. Which means the one that I dropped is back over towards.
Dude, how the fuck?
Back
How'd you
towards
like
the
this
diner.
shit back?
Poor Goose lost with a
I don't know
song.
why that got me. Oh,
Fuck you, slut! Here it
Oh,
is.
that's so casual. Oh.
oh, calm down, calm down.
Oh, calm down there. There you go. He's gonna attack. Watch. Yeah. See, I knew that.
Yeah. I'm practically a dev. I knew what he was gonna do.
How did he see you?
He's like the chosen one, dude.
Chosen one, dude.
It's like the chosen one, dude.
Oh, hi! Fuck you! Fuck you, me!
Fuck you, you.
Fuck are you?
Breather, take a breather.
Unless they're
Now. Hello.
Oh,
Run, Marin, run! Well, you may have backed up.
That's one, children.
Okay, because the other
One
one's
more
over by the,
children.
right outside
Marin,
the
down at your
diner.
feet, there's a brick. There's a brick at your feet if you want to pick it up. Nope, but right there.
I really do wish this could revive you guys. Can it not?
I'm sorry,
no.
Marin. I just gotta have to stab
I don't
you.
think so.
Just a little bit.
Come on.
All right. Yeah, that's not. Wait.
Wait,
Unless.
hold on. Let me check.
That's
Oh,
Marin,
okay.
Here behind me. It's me.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Right there behind you. Turn around. Run!
Oh wow.
Imagine if
slow
you
him
could
down.
come into the grinder. God, that'd be so fun.
Why did you stab him? I saw that.
You know, it looked very stabbable.
I'm thinking there's only one person that's imposter. Not this way. Oh, hi.
Maybe.
I thought it was Heaven, Starshine, and Knife Lord TTV.
Oh, it could be.
Oh, true.
They just can't find us.
Well, I've been sprinting around everywhere.
Yeah, but they probably can't get a ping on you, maybe. One's in cameras and one's running around.
Wow.
So.
At least our dead bodies help.
Yeah, we're like a beacon.
Yeah.
Like, go here.
Go here. My
I
court
want
says
my
so.
money. Why does that sound like a grown-ass man saying that?
Are you serious?
I want my money.
You sound like you're about to tell me that you want to buy a pack of smokes, zombie.
I
All
want
right,
my
I got the
money.
kid. I'm coming in the
I
front
love
door.
you, Daddy.
Love you, daddy.
Do the roar.
Hooray! Dude, where are
roar.
You know what I was talking about.
I am out of stamina. If one of these chuckle fucks jumps out of a box and XKOs me, I'm going to be upset.
They're coming. Get
Man,
out of
I don't
there.
even know where the fudge. Uh oh.
We are leaving. Oh, hi.
Please.
Oh shit.
Wait, what am I doing? I have drugs.
Oh shit, you drugged.
I'm drugged up, bro.
Oh, come on. They were hiding in the box right next to the thing.
Oh, what an ass. Oh shit.
And I clicked the wrong thing. God damn it.
I tag teamed you. Oh no.
Of course they did. They just need to run to the exit.
Ah, that's fucked.
I was like, that's the thing about the difference between players and NPCs. NPCs can be looped and goofed with. Players will just go cheat.
Well, at least that's turned
Okay,
on.
at least I guess the button
Yeah,
got
let's
pushed.
go.
I didn't touch the button, so.
Goose, you got this, Goose.
Do you know who else is coming?
Oh!
Wait, what the
You
fuck?
know who else has drugs?
He
This
just
guy
held the
has-
execute
What?
waiting for you to run
What?
into him.
Crazy.
Wow.
Oh, hi, Pippin. Thank you.
Wow. I got a badge.
D+. Christ.
I'm a 3.
Wait, that says hold to exit invasion? What? Is that what we needed to push? Maybe I accidentally queued us into another match.
Oh, I see.
No.
It didn't do it the time before, though. Oh, wait, no, we're back in.
It's weird.
Okay, no, this is the evaluation. Okay.
It was your fault, Marin. No.
I guess I was the one that did it. Apparently.
Oopsie poopsie.
Why would they
Now
change
I
the
wanna get
controls or the
shit
way that
on.
things function?
I want to be the one shitting out. Unless they throw bricks at me, then I don't like that.
Oh, he's talking shit about me again. Vitamin D, the worst.
You going to
vitamin
grinder?
of
Yes.
all. I love it. I love
I
it.
gotta see it.
You love getting shit talked on.
I like to think the only reason why I got a C- is because I died early and they didn't bring me back.
They didn't get to brutalize you.
Oh shit.
Brutalize.
Well, bless your heart.
Oh, I can actually get 2. Let's do spend less stamina.
Of your heart. It's my second.
All right, I'm short 1 imposter skill.
Increase running speed.
I was gonna say I have all 11 imposter skillios. I
18.
got given new pants, which is
And they all kind of suck, in my opinion.
I mean,
Oh,
they kind of
three,
stack
though.
together just to make the experience a little more bearable.
Weren't you just
Yeah, it's like playing Killer in DVD.
together here, don't
I'll take this.
Corrupt enemies causing interruption of their normal behavior. Jeez. Is it Jam? Oh, Jammer is the one. Oh, it's only its second thing that you can buy. Jesus.
Oh shit.
Automatically
Where's
activates for self revive. Can only be used to revive a. Can also be revived to revive a dead teammate from a distance, but only both once per trial. So you can resurrect yourself and one other person once per trial.
Yeah, I love Jammer.
That's I only have it to
Jammer
level
I also
4.
love Jammer Lammy.
Jammer Lammy. Ooh.
So I've wanted to try to use barricade more, but barricade just feels. Eh.
Yeah, I kind of agree. But the time on that's pretty fast.
Barricade's funny.
You're
That's my
funny.
opinion. Yeah, thank you. I don't know.
I've been wanting to try
funny
it. Like I
see,
have it maxed out, but I don't think I've ever actually used it.
It's pretty good
Nice.
on higher levels, so that way, you know, when you're getting chased, you can just make a wall.
True. I only play it when it's a daily thing.
Um,
I almost maxed out Jammer immediately. I'm
You
missing
need to
one.
get some perks, mister. I see
think I
you have
maxed
no
out-
perks.
I
Don't
maxed out
look at me.
everything.
go buy your perks.
I am. Go buy your perks. You've been playing this game for how long and you haven't done perks? How dare you?
The trials
How dare you?
demand the fursuit. You're not
They-
getting the fursuit.
How dare you?
Ugh.
Get your ass up here right now.
Let's shoot either. Jesus.
Oh, that's the horse. I
Oh
see
yeah,
horse
the
now.
golden red one is the horse.
Yeah, the horse.
Oh, it has a prosthetic that's a horse leg. No, wait, they're both prosthetic horse legs. Oh my god.
You get perks
Oh
from
my
it.
god.
What if I told you this is the first time I've seen this NPC?
Oh gosh.
I've always only shown the rig stuff. Yeah, I have no money. I
Burn.
spent it all already.
Oh no. You're killing
Where
me,
was the-
Smalls.
What was the one that I owned? I don't think it's Countdown, is
Oh
it?
yeah, wait a minute.
Ooh, daily
Countdown?
Markov. Thank you.
Your daily Fortnite points.
I still haven't played Fortnite for like probably a year now. Gosh.
You're not.
God, you're a
missing much.
year sober?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You ain't missing much.
Just do the slow.
When they do another Dragon Ball collab, I'll join again.
That's when I joined.
That's when I joined too.
Oh, hey, there's a free daily box. Don't mind if I do. Hey, leveled up. Okay, leveling up off of the daily box is kind of funny.
I almost leveled up off the daily box.
Oh, I do want that poster.
Oh, what is this? Deep burn? What is this?
Oh, okay, this
What's
is
the
what you
burn?
use there.
I don't know.
Points on.
Deep burn.
It's like a new catalog that I didn't see. Yeah.
Why does the first skin in the advent of Bogomalova look like Magnet Man?
Oh.
Man. Oh, deep burn. I didn't see that either. Three.
And they changed one of the event catalogs to be called Amelia.
Oh my god, I can just be a
Yeah.
dapper gentleman on the street?
Oh my god, I can run around in my panties. Perfect.
Huh? What?
Look on Deep Burn catalog. You'll see why.
You said dear.
Deep Burn. You can run around in your panties.
Oh, the very like
free.
underwear on the outside. Oh,
Where's my
oh,
room? Here's my
That
room.
Rat King's fucking ugly.
oh. Why?
Oh my god. The fucking underwear on the
Hi,
outside.
Queens. I'm having a good time.
God damn it.
Oh,
Oh,
I
Deep Burn has
Wait,
a
I can
Molotov
actually have my-
cocktail stance. Oh no.
I can have my character naked. Hold on one second.
Whoa, wait.
Wait.
Wait, let me get the chair. Wait, what?
It's just the sound of the camera turning on.
Yeah,
How's
yeah.
our prestige?
Let me turn the lights on.
It's the obnoxious old
Actually,
cameras.
let's
Just
see.
the.
I want to see how that looks too. Well, that's kind of cool. Okay. Naked. I can't find it. How do I
Good
get
grief, she's
naked?
naked.
Oh god, her brain's out.
I'm naked.
Oh, yeah, kinda, yeah.
Whee! Whee!
Obviously,
Why'd you
I
say that
should
in
use them. I
disgust?
should use the Art Deco one I just got.
What?
Zombie, take your kitties away.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, you're naked.
Oh my god, you're red. Yeah.
I'm red.
Yeah.
You are red.
Hold
Actually,
on,
like
let me put on
that
the
red.
golden. Let me put on the golden shower one.
What?
Oh yeah, you'll see.
Let's step into the
That's actually what it's called, is a golden shower.
Carnival.
Lily, welcome
Ah,
in.
yeah,
How was your stream? Did you have a good
In
time?
your room to see you take a
cool.
golden shower.
Also, hold on a second.
Oh, that's a cool
Hello.
room.
I
like
rolled
that.
everything.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was actually
Fire.
pausing.
I'm gold.
Welcome in, though. How was your stream?
Yeah,
Did you
you're
have a
the
good
thing
time?
from
Hi,
Star
Aiden,
Wars.
thank you for the follow.
That
Welcome in.
freak over there.
See,
Yeah.
I made this liquid homosexual. You
Freak.
what?
R2 Detroit or whatever his name is. I forgot his name.
No, you're C3PO.
You did what now?
C3PO,
no.
there you go.
What do you mean?
I'm
Liquid homosexual.
You're like
C3PO.
you're his kinkier brother.
What do you mean by
Pissio.
that?
Yeah.
I was playing my voice too. Is that the game where you like put
No.
Yeah,
wait, I
there
probably
you go.
shouldn't be that. No.
what was that? Where you
Dude has so
just, like,
many
record?
tunes. What the fuck?
your like voice to animals, and they let me voice a frog. Oh, no.
Ew.
We drink the homosexual liquid here.
Your mask has like little flesh
Pretty
bits on
true.
it.
Oh yes, the gender fluid. Correct. Correct.
Actually, there's supposed to be a new outfit for the game being out for 2 years.
Oh,
I
is
wonder how we
that?
get that. Yeah, I
just a
saw it
giant
when you.
tune.
But welcome in, Raiders. We're currently playing Alice Trials. It is
Shut
a
up.
hectic time, and I am having the time of my
I
life.
wonder how you get it though.
those
Oh
are
wait, 2 year
pants that I missed.
anniversary.
What is
We
your
have to
outfit made
play
of? Is it
all of
just
them.
wrapped?
Oh, that sucks.
Is this
Oh,
rap?
one do
go to
what
your go to task and look at 2 year anniversary.
Oh, do we need to go do the? Do we need to go do them?
Oh no, we don't have to. I was just
Oh,
you get
I see.
I think you get an outfit. You get an outfit.
Grind the bad apples.
Yeah, you do
Where's
whatever
the-
you want.
Orphans.
Gross. It's in tasks.
Special
It's the
therapy?
2-year anniversary task.
No,
Oh,
just
oh,
you
oh.
hit tab in tasks.
Complete all anniversary. What does it give you?
Oh,
That's
wow,
all.
it really is.
It
all
gives you a
It's
whole
supposed to give
outfit.
you.
Wow.
It's supposed to give you an outfit. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just want you to do each mission. That's not the worst. It doesn't even tell you you have to do it at a certain difficulty. Just spoil the
That's
auction.
true.
That's the worst one. The auction one's the worst one.
Yeah. I don't want. Wait,
I
how
like
many
the
is on
auction
this?
one.
I have to raid run. That's totally okay, Luby. Thank you so much for the raid. I hope you enjoyed Voice Zero. And made as many
Oh, you
unhinged
know what
animals as
sucks?
possible.
We have to do all of them. That's 10 right there.
It also gives 2K experience per task, though. That's enough to level up once.
I'm depressed.
All right, do we want to keep doing imposters? Do we want to start running some of these?
I'm
Let's do
totally down for
let's do
whatever.
an event. Let's do the new
Try to do
event
a
because
few
I want the
more.
poster.
The new
want
event
the
as in the special therapy?
The yeah. Is it special therapy? Yes,
It
it
is.
is.
So welcome to
If you want a fast one,
Oh God.
if you want to really, there's a new. There's actually 2 new ones. If you want to do a fast one, cancel the autopsies really fast.
It looks like there's some that I haven't done. Empty the vault, fabricate the scandal, eliminate the legacy, flatten the foreman.
What you fear?
Jesus. Claire!
Jesus.
What the shit,
What did I
dude?
do?
Player,
What did I do?
player.
What did you do?
What?
What did you do?
What did I do? Why are you yelling at me?
Why are there 5 subs in my chat?
That's not me.
Wow.
If you
Yeah, I
say
haven't played
so.
the.
All right,
haven't played
if it's not you, then I guess
Flatten.
we can just ignore it and ignore the hype train that it started.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
I don't know about chat. I'll ignore it.
Flatten the foreman.
My chat is hard to instigate with hype trains.
Oh, thank God, invasion is.
Especially because sometimes
disabled.
we've gotten hype trains of people literally just doing normal redeems. I will never understand why it does that.
I don't get it either. It happens in my chat too, where someone will gift like 5 subs. It's like, oh, have a hype train. I'm like, no, get that out of here.
No, it's not. It's not even that. It's last week people were just like kind of spamming like just redeems, regular redeems, channel point redeems, and it started a hype train.
Oh.
I still
weird.
have no idea why. It just
I think the
spontaneously. The
weirdest-
thing too was it started at level 2.
The weirdest thing that I ran into was I was just minding my own business. I don't remember what I was playing, but like, I guess it must have been like your case with the redeems. I was just given a golden Capitrain. I was like, who are you? Nothing happened. Dead chat was just like vibing. Here, have a train. I'm like,
I think that's what some people call scam trains, where they just like pop up because it's basically Twitch being like, this channel hasn't done a little bit in a while. Why don't we just push him along?
Scam.
Twitch is like, give us your money.
Like cut thief.
It's my least favorite kind of milk.
Ew.
All right. Do we want to do this on introductory or standard
I'm down for
Don't matter to me.
or higher?
Psychotherapy. Let's go.
All right, got it.
You are a
wait,
fucking
wait,
freak.
wait,
Oh
wait.
no! Oh God.
Okay, do we want to do something short? I doubt we want to do despoil the auction.
Hell no, I don't want to do the spoil the auction.
I mean, think of it this way.
Oh,
Think of it this way.
cancel
guys.
autopsy.
If we get the worst ones out of the way now, all the quick ones will be so much more therapeutic.
All right, we'll do cancel the autopsy first, and then we'll do one of like the other ones that I've never seen before.
Thank God, I can do that in like under 5 minutes. Holy fuck!
All right, so we'll just leave it to zombie then.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
I mean, that's not that hard.
Do we want to do standard, or do we want to bring it down even more? I think the only
Either
difference
or.
is like experience that you get at the end.
I
mean,
think,
I was gonna say.
I think it depends.
I was gonna say, don't we automatically, for just doing the thing, getting 2,000 experience, which is just a level up anyway?
I don't
Well,
know
I think with
if
standard-
it's this one that counts towards one of the missions, because isn't it the big ones
find
that
out.
it wants us to do for the
No,
tasks?
it's the big ones. It's the big ones, yeah.
So I think we're just
it's
doing
the
this
first
one for the sake of the event.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm geared up.
Yeah. Plus, this one's really fast.
Better be.
Because you're just fine.
Better be, Ashley.
It was.
You got one dude for the Doom Patrol.
Oh, what the fuck? Oh,
See, I'm the golden shower.
Oh, is that the
No, you're
golden shower outfit?
C3PO.
you want the golden shower? You freak.
But disgusted. It says the one running around.
Oh, why does he sit next
borderline
to
naked.
me? No, he smells of piss.
Did you say I'm Robot Man from Doom Patrol?
Yeah, for the robot guy from Doom Patrol.
Yeah. I have a brain.
You cannot allow evidence
Oh,
to
that
determine
show.
the course
You
of
got
justice.
a piss brain.
Allow evidence in the course of justice. What else would steer the way of justice?
We'll let you out.
Oh my God,
Look at that.
Sunstar.
What's your pleasure?
Let's go, Sunstar. High five.
Mobile
I
suit
instigated one
mushroom?
person.
That's a good name.
100 subs, and we'll do
Do it.
psycho mode.
100 subs and I'll go play fucking Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
I'd be down for that too. I have that game.
I don't have that game.
I'll buy that game.
How dare you, Goose?
Oh, sorry.
From the beauty up front.
Just drops the rest of the 30s. The ping.
Actually, I don't know how many players you can have on that. I don't have player
Probably
check
4.
though.
At
I
least.
don't remember.
I think 4, yeah.
I don't remember.
It's
But I
just,
burn
it's just the
myself
game that I
out
have in
on
the
the game.
background that's like, what's the exact opposite that a horror streamer would play? Hello Kitty.
That would be me too.
Cancel the autopsy.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Let's see.
if she's on this map, are there going to be statues everywhere, or is she just the only one?
I think there'll be
Actually, I don't
statues.
All right.
Hello.
Oh, there's the one with the drugs.
Button. All right, go get a mash.
I'll go for Sector B.
Fun, I'll go see Bunny.
Okay, so
my favorite
star,
bunny.
Crown. Okay. I'll go with Flare.
Was this standard?
Yes, this is standard.
From the
Sick.
beauty up front.
Just gotta look for the keys.
Well, look at
Oh my
you.
So
god.
we're looking for Crown in here, Flare.
Sounds good.
Oh my god. Oh, shit, I was not
I
paying
saw one of the
attention.
mannequins.
I walked right into the barrel lady again.
Oh, she scared me. Oh wait, no, that's not a mannequin. Who the fuck are you? There's no
I think there's
evasion
only
in this
one.
game. Oh no, I'm fucked.
Oh, we have the giant way over there.
Wait, why does it take
I
you so
love
long to get out of
voice.
that?
Get out of my fish. Get out of my fish. Get out of my fish. Get the
Wait,
fuck
so
out of
did you
here.
get attacked by
Okay,
her?
that's
or-
Moon. She's in that box, by the way.
I got attacked by somebody else. You fuck off.
All right, I'm about to make some noise, and the giant may come over here.
I got a brick, don't worry.
I'm all burnt
Oh, I
up.
found the crown.
Oh, yeah.
Lost.
Oh, collect
Go for it,
amulets
Mary.
too. I wonder how we do that.
Thank you.
So would you rate that neck? Like, what out of 10?
That neck.
Oh, she's. Oh my god, that's a mannequin. Oh, do I
Oh,
risk
I
it?
hate
Oh, there's a
Oh,
mannequin.
there's Laura right here.
We should grab that.
There's a lot of
Where
mannequins.
So
the
this is
fuck?
the amulet. Is it gonna
Oh.
be her?
Why am I?
Okay, it's not her.
Why am I getting fucked up?
So it is mannequins that are just randomly in places.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Please don't
I'm just
kill
gonna
me.
close all the doors
Please
behind us.
don't kill me.
Okay, I'll go ahead and put the key
can't.
in.
I'm so confused.
All right.
Put that key in.
This one's star, it seems.
Wait, what's up with the amulet? Can we take the amulet? Like, what's
Yeah,
up
yeah,
with
you can take it. It's
what?
part of the
Oh, I
collector's
didn't know you
thing.
could.
that?
I
Oh,
didn't know you could. Oh, that's a fire. I don't need fire.
fire.
There's quite a lot of them in this bathroom.
Pick up.
Ooh, more lore.
Found a star.
I found an embolet.
Okay, so oops, is
Wars.
that lore right there? There's more lore right here. Gimme.
Yeah, I picked it up already.
I like collecting lore. Just I
Another
love the lore of this
mannequin. Oh
game.
my god, give me your jewelry. Thank you.
Oh my god, more sugar fix cereal. My favorites.
You know it.
Do we need to get all of the amulets for this, or is it just bonus?
I
I actually don't know.
It might just be a bonus.
It also could it could be one of the
All right,
things to get.
time to look for the bunny.
That's
I'm
eyeball.
trying to look for the bunny.
It's in C, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be in C.
I'm opening
Whoa,
up the-
hey, I see you.
Whoa, hey, asshole.
Whoa, asshole.
I found it.
Asshole.
I found the
I was
bunny.
just at dick level with zombie. I'm like, hello there.
Holy, asshole, dick holy.
All right, the bunny was.
You got the bunny.
Yeah, it was behind
Yeah,
the
bitch.
one of the quick lock doors.
I'm getting chased. I'm getting chased.
No, you're in. Wait, where are you?
Where are you?
Right here. Hi. She's right there. She's right there.
Is she?
No, she's about to come through that door. I'm
Was
pretty
chasing
sure.
me. Oh, there she is. There she is.
Oh shit, they're both here.
Oh my god, no, Coil. Run, run.
I'm gonna get her. Yeah.
That's
Wait,
it.
let me get what's his face too.
Maybe
not.
it's for the hype train.
Open your door.
And I got hit once.
I call three. I call three.
So I said this map's really fast and easy.
It's
No,
better than
to
the
a
other
big
one
break.
that's like, what is it? The generators? A minus. On a
I got her
4-minute map.
once.
I'm calling BS.
See, under 5 minutes. Easy peasy.
I received damage once. Damn it. Wait, what did I take damage
I took
from?
damage once as well.
What did I take
What was
damage
this?
from?
Glutton for therapy. Badge required.
Oh, I got a cool little vest looking outfit. Oh,
I got cool pants.
the naked helps.
This game's telling me to wear pants.
Being
rock.
naked
One
helps. That's funny.
I got a rock.
Hi, Kona. Oh.
Oh, you said
Your what
you
is
love
what
me.
mine?
Oh.
The voices.
You're mine.
Let me out!
Oh, I'm glad he's not gonna shit talk me now.
Evaluation and a prize.
When he's talking a little.
A performance this good is its own reward. Treasure it.
You're not quite as ugly as when you first walked in. Now I can look at you.
Jesus.
That's the shit he says. I mean,
Oh my gosh. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Let's look at
Okay, that was a daily task.
I
I
need
got
to do one more
Jesus.
read. You got Jesus.
I got Jesus.
Collect 30
Yeah, Jesus.
amulets. Hit
Where's my
Lily with
Jesus?
projectiles 20 times. Oh no. Just bully her.
Wait, let's see. Wait, completes. Did y'all see posters in there?
Oh,
At
I
all?
didn't. I didn't see any posters because I think the
No, I think it's
alternative was,
just the
was the
amulets.
amulets.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it. Let's see, 20 times, unlock 15 lock containers. Travel 400 meters while crouching.
Let me see if there's one of the special ones we
X-ray.
need.
Counter a pounce with a brick or bottle 3 times.
Oh wait, I have money. I should go buy perks. Smile.
Smile. Yeah, you should.
You better get those perks, mister.
At
Or
least
what, zombie?
slippers.
What you gonna do?
You're-
You better.
You're being so brave right now.
I just
Thanks.
love a tone
I try. I got these $2. What do I buy?
Enjoy the day.
Thanks.
2 whole tickets.
Thanks. I try.
Hey, thanks, man.
Hi, Dugan.
Are you proud of me, zombie? I bought slippers.
happy if you had the best armor in
You
the
got
game.
SpongeBob.
Strip.
You got
Oh, no.
SpongeBob slippers.
I did.
All right,
That's cute.
where's my room?
SpongeBob. Why?
Sponge boy. Bob.
Oh my god.
Oh, this is cute.
Sorry.
I like this.
It's giving Bloodborne Mr. Krabs.
You've been a good employee, Sponge boy.
Wait, which one is this the
Join
one I'm
my
working
covenant.
on?
Goose, I want you to know.
Is
I
this-
want you to know. So when I on my Discord, friends just DM'd me and was like, "I see how it is," and I was like, "What? You're hanging out with Goose. I like that guy." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I'm sorry. I mean, I don't have to be here.
I just like
That's fine. We'll get the special chair if you try to leave.
special chair. Wait a
Okay.
Oh,
second.
Where do you think they got the chairs
I
for
like
this
your
game?
bedroom, Goose.
Thank you. I love this. I love this design a lot. The little.
Oh, you
film.
too. It's really
You can see
cute.
spooky things happening. Oh, mental
I don't have
asylums.
them.
Ooh.
Wait, which catalog is that?
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's Breach. Maybe it's Breach.
I've been doing the Preacher one literally just so that I can get like the movie theater-esque bedroom, not for the Preacher
Oh yeah, that's what I
clothes.
got. That's what I got right
Hey, you
here.
are priest.
Yeah.
Except you're
God.
you're the piss.
Oh yeah, I
Piss-
forgot. I'm not a priest
You're the
anymore.
pee-pee. You're the piss priest.
That's
You're the
sacrilege.
pee-pee.
You're the
Oh.
piss.
Wait, would
I
you rather
forgot
have
getting
the red?
badges gives you
The
or
red.
the black outfit?
You're the piss priest.
The red.
All
That
right,
red
thank
one
you.
looks really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yo, Mount Massive mentions.
Jesus. See, I got new
Oh,
Jesus
Jesus.
stuff. Is Christ
Look at
there?
you.
and a
Look at
Christ here?
look at all that Jesus stuff. Look at Jesus with no legs.
Therefore, he said,
Look at him with
be
his
nice to
legs."
people. Woe be the fallen. Whatever. Sorry.
You so silly.
Sorry.
It's just none of the Minotaur lore.
Okay, wait, what's the task again? Let me see.
Wait, is this
Let me use the bathroom real
else?
quick. Burbs.
Go take a shit
Burbs.
though.
Bio.
The trials are
Go get your
tools,
bio break in.
paper targets. If you
Okay.
can bullseye
Nah, I don't
people,
need
you
to
can
leave.
kill the enemy. But these are
I
tools.
needed a drink.
How do you see out of your
SpongeBob,
goggles?
me boy. You're
Nice
making this old carapace act up. Oh my god.
Not the carrot.
I hate
You're gonna
it.
make me throw this back.
Throwing games with all these clothes. I don't have the proper outfits. Plus, the idea of walking around barefoot in this game really gives me the heebie-jeebies.
That's why I want shoes.
Yeah,
but, like,
you know,
I
you
still
don't like
haven't
me
gotten those
being. You don't like me being barefoot.
Oh, no, it's
Sorry,
just,
my
it's just
toes are
thinking of the
exposed.
of myself running around barefoot. That's like, ugh.
You're still alive.
yet. Like feeling the like.
Wait, what level are you at,
cold
actually?
Stone floor.
Me, I'm 53.
Take care now.
Oh, I was looking at Goose. I'm like, oh, you can prestige.
Oh,
You
did you say
never
the
won
100? I
like
saw the
me.
98 before this.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Man,
Before
I should have
my-
spent those $2 on the last perk I needed for that thing. Curse these slippers.
I need 9 more levels and then I can prestige again.
All right, Grins is being a zoomer in chat, so I'm sorry. You know what that means you need to do.
No, not.
The
not
digging
stop
in your butt
digging
twin
in
has
your
been
butt.
spoken in chat. There's only one thing to do.
What's that?
Immediate execution.
Stop digging in your butt, twin.
Man, shoe up, shoe up.
Oh. What do you want me to do? You want me to fight you? Alright, fine, fuck you. You pointed at me. You wanted a challenge. Fuck
Why he
you,
stands
brother.
up like that?
I don't know.
Why is the Spanish Inquisition here?
He went to go take a. Oh, never mind.
Hello?
He went to go take a fat piss, and he's back.
This fat piss.
Hello, how are you doing?
More pissed than ever.
Join the Krabby Covenant.
Not the Krabby Covenant. No.
All right. Do we want to do another one of the special ones? Or do we want to try and go for the 2-year anniversary and start doing some of the bigger ones?
Oh, that's gonna take forever. That's why it says fucking 35 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm down for
Ah.
whatever.
I mean, technically we could do double whammy because I think like Despoil the Auction was in there, Cleanse the Orphans, and Vindicate the Guilty were.
Yeah, yeah. And kill the.
I can do
kill
Cleanse the Orphans real
snitch.
quick. That'll be really quick.
Cleanse the Orphans.
Cleanse the
Kill
orphans.
the cleanse the orphans. Yeah.
That's
the
a good
orphans,
time,
cleanse
45
the
minutes.
orphans.
I think we could do it in sub 20.
Maybe.
Oh, it's super easy, that one.
Cleanse the Orphans is the one where you have to like go and do like the machines and stuff, and there's the 2 wings.
Yeah, you have to cleanse the orphans.
Oh yeah.
It's
What
like
if
one of
I
the very
want
first
to?
ones you ever do.
But what if I don't want to?
The orphans.
Well,
will
Did you
do
go in?
that.
Did you go in the pond?
No.
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 You stay
Without
climbing,
fury.
climbing into the gamer chair.
There you
Do it.
There you go.
All right, so when do y'all think Mr. Beast is going to recreate Outlast Trials?
Education and faith.
Oh my fucking god.
Well, that was Squid Games, wasn't it? A bunch of people like broke
He's
their
already done Squid
bones.
Games and Beast Games. Now we're just waiting for him to do Beast Trials.
Teach the children.
You really?
Give them first communion.
He's already
No,
done
he has to do
it.
Dead by Daylight first.
He's
I got-
what?
God.
He's doing Dead
he
by
really do
Daylight?
Squid Games?
No.
No, I was making a
You're
joke
lying.
saying he has to do Dead by Daylight first.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Well, I mean,
Right, but is he hiring killers or is he going to be the killer? Is it going to be like a hunting for sport situation?
killer.
Yeah, kinda.
He's the killer because he's already killing me.
Mr. Beast should do Ark? Oh no.
We got 100 blind people to do Outlast Trials, and if they win, we'll cure them of their blindness.
We screwed these night vision goggles into 100 blind people. Why? We're not even sure.
They can't even see.
Oh, time to cleanse the orphans.
Mr. Beastland didn't fall through, so let's do this.
Please proceed.
Aw. Let's go to
Oh,
Mr.
I just want to go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Scared me.
Mild panic, mild panic.
Oh yeah.
You're scaring me. Stop.
You made me ink.
Reach the radio
Stupid.
room. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, ma'am. Nobody look too closely at the non-mannequins.
What? Why?
Look at their sagging titties.
Yeah, there's
Gross
somebody,
looking
they cut off
titties.
somebody's tits and put them on the mannequin.
You know what's crazy? It's not the fucking the nudity filter don't cover it for some reason.
There's the nudity filter?
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
Have you been looking at dick and balls this whole time?
Oh my god. Uh-oh.
There's the nudity filter? It's fine.
Oh my
No,
God,
it's
you're
fine
so-
on Twitch. If you don't use
You're
it 'cause
so
it's in the
brave.
game.
Oh my god.
You're so brave.
It's the authentic
You're so
experience, okay?
brave.
It's the authentic Atlas experience as it was meant to be experienced. Are you having a time?
God.
Marin just looking at it. It
No.
was in the game, so it was meant to be points at dick and balls.
There you go.
just when the giants like standing over me, just slap them a couple times.
614.
Use them as a
Room
fucking like one of those
614.
punching bags.
614.
Oh, it's right over there.
614.
813.
614.
614. What the fuck is my dog doing right now?
Oh, you know, being a dog.
No, you're right.
You know, as they do.
But yo,
Oh,
Coochie
what
away,
do you
Anakin.
what do you want, dog?
Distract her harder.
Why are you barking?
Sorry, I speak dog.
What's he saying?
He wants snacks.
He wants to be annoying. I see a pair of hands over here. Oh, never
Sorry,
mind.
those
It's
are mine.
coming.
Okay, got one.
Damn.
What? Stop! Stop!
Get him!
Oh, I'll jump over 25 obstacles was a weekly.
I'll take that.
That's gonna
Oh
close.
God.
I haven't done this trial in a minute, so don't mind me. I'm just kind of walking around picking up stuff.
Oh yeah, I need to be looking for mannequins. Oops.
There's usually. Oh no, it says there's only 3. Okay, I was gonna say because there's usually 2 in each side.
Oh
so
wait, actually,
one side has 2, and then the other one has
2
to
out
have
of
1.
12. Holy shit!
Oh yeah, that's a ambulance. So
Turn right here. Oh yeah, the ambulance thing.
I figured it'd just be like
Ocean.
3 or 5.
well, the last one was 16.
Hello.
There you. Oh, she's right there. You me?
Shit, you. Oh, fuck! She's got the drill hand.
You sure do.
She's cosplaying as a
It's
girl.
Dr. Futterman.
Attorney at law.
Actually, he's the dentist.
Oh my god.
Oh. Tomato.
Both of them are just
Tomato,
his teeth
tomato.
pulling.
6. It's 6.
He's just in the middle of a courtroom pulling someone's teeth out. So, Your Honor.
Your Honor, check out this hand.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping to find a
Check out
statue
these sick
of
moves.
what's their name in here, but I did not. Did not, in fact,
I'm
find
doing
one.
bad.
Okay.
Dude.
How did you fucking instant transmission and fucking front of that genuinely I got
Okay, are y'all looking for the one that's in the boys?
There.
So I'm guessing y'all got the one that's in the girls.
The boys.
Okay,
Let's hear it for the boys.
so that's the only one that's left. So I should probably go look for.
Oh my god.
Everybody just came around the. Oh hi! Excuse me. Just came around the corner, literally right in front of me.
Holy shit. Hello.
Hello.
We gotta go back to the reception.
Oh. You scared me, Goose Boost.
Very scary.
Why that goose bark?
Coming down the stairs. Coming down the stairs. Open, please.
Hey, how far can I?
Yeah.
Hey,
The button.
Oh, it hurts.
Classrooms.
You
The
would think, right?
films.
I hate
Alright.
this bit.
All right. We can't go outside with those, so we have to transfer
Yeah.
them like this.
So I got the
Here,
first one in the window.
I'll push the button.
Push the button, Krunk.
There we go.
I'll go try and find which rooms they're in.
Next.
There we go.
Okay. And one more.
Okay,
Let's
one
see.
is over here in class 1. So if you want to spit
Yeah, let's
one
push
on
this. There we
Thank
go.
you.
here. I'll take this into classroom 1.
Where do I take this? Oh, I see where I have to take this.
We take it to a classroom.
Yeah,
I'll
check.
put
You
it
can
in
check the classrooms to see.
here. Actually, it's pinged if you see it.
Here, I've already
Or
got
it's
this
got
one.
the
Yeah, I got classroom 1. If y'all go to 2, 3, or 4, figure out just which one it goes to. I can go get it.
I'm trying to find the door for this one.
Whoa, scared me.
For 2,
Okay,
it's
but
around
the-
the corner.
Don't be scared of a naked woman. What's wrong with you?
Yoink.
You got our dingly bits hanging out.
It's
Oh,
too
where?
empowering.
Where? Oh, can I just walk in there?
Okay.
You just can't. You have to put the thing down.
Yeah, you put it in. Somebody already
Someone's
in there?
already there.
I think Ash already got it in there. Yeah, you don't need. That one's already done.
Yes.
So the last room has to be 3 or 4. So here's the entrance. Oh, there's a person there.
I need some battery.
It's not 3, so I'm pretty
I got
sure it's
battery
going to be
if you need
room
it.
4.
Oh no, I got some.
All right.
Also, I have not seen any Ilya statues.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
right
it's
here.
4. It's
4.
its stand is here. If you want to put it there, I can go around to the other side. Hold on, there's a person right here. Okay, that's a nun that was moving.
Okay.
Stealthy nuns.
Just seeing zombie run by, I'm like, that's not a person. They wouldn't be naked.
Hey, I found one. Yay.
So yeah, I don't think she actually shows up at this point. I'm
Yeah,
guessing
no.
she just. You just have statues of her around. Oh, there's another one.
Hi, brother. Get out of here.
Oh, whoa, whoa, what the fuck? I didn't even see that guy.
Oh, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, shit, that was bright.
They weirdly blend in well with everything.
Running.
See,
All right, back to
where's the-
reception.
All
All right, time to go to Snurch.
Wait, I'm confused. Oh,
Going to Snurch. Snapple?
Going to church.
Oh, yay, church.
We love it.
Oh,
We
hi,
love
there's,
it.
there's a person
have you been
walking
good, boys
after
and
us.
girls?
I've been a good boy. I got a present from Jesus today.
Did you? What'd you bring? Just
Hold
in
on,
case
are there
anything-
any Lilia statues out here?
I brought
I'll
some
just wait
goldfish
for everyone.
crackers.
I don't think I can break this until you guys. No, I can break it.
It's Mother Gooseberry typically, but it's a special mode where Lilia the nun is her statues are about bottle.
Here comes the dick.
Here comes
Look-
the
Oh god,
dick.
the music.
The music for the penis.
I'm missing the dick.
The dick.
Yes. Anyway,
The dick.
okay, I'll go for the generators.
Oh yeah, we gotta power it up. Okay.
Oh, here, let me
hey,
do my
Julia.
pouch.
We need the eyeball and the bunny.
Does someone want to co-op this with me?
I got you, bro. Come on,
Do
let's
it.
do this. Dude.
Oh. All right, cool. What is this? That's not bunny.
Is bunny in here?
Okay, so there's one generator. Oh, I can actually go ahead and do these.
Fire,
Star.
crown.
Oh, here, give me. Thank you.
And this is the moon.
I found
The
heart.
moon.
The moon.
Oh, there's a confidential door down here.
What's this?
Bunny's right here, but I'm
found-
being stabbed.
Star.
Don't get stabbed.
All right, I'll go
He
for
was
should
bunny.
like,
do
I
that.
want to talk to you about your car's extended warranty, and I was like, oh, I don't have one of those.
That
He
sounds
stabbed
no
me.
good.
Also,
said
if you
nothing.
look at them real close, you can actually you're able to mark them.
I got bunny.
Filling
Get
up
the
the
bunny!
generator.
This is heart.
Jesus was hung. Oh no, that is not a question I'm willing to answer.
Oh shit. Excuse me. Go away.
Okay, now where's
Did
the
he-
other
did he in
generator?
fact
Oh my God,
have
it's so
big-
red in here.
There's one button.
Okay, you got the bunny. Okay.
No, Goose got bunny.
I got bunny.
Here we need that. Oh, what?
Oh man, that hurt.
you shot that in my face.
Oh, okay, so I found both the buttons if anybody comes down here and wants to get the confidential door open.
But I want to find the eyeball. I can't find no eyeball. What the fuck is it?
That's fire.
Down here?
I found a co-op thing.
Oh!
Oh, it's the fucking mannequin!
What? I'm getting tag teamed. Fuck off!
Oh, did
Fuck
the mannequin
off!
come to life? Is she actually here?
Oh my! Yes, she's alive. She's alive.
Oh no, zombie, you're
I'm stuck. I'm fucking chill sandwiched right now. Get off
Oh
of
my
me!
God.
My fucking god! Help me! Help me! Help me!
Oh, God,
Okay, so she is off map. So we do have both of the prime assets. That's crazy.
I just want to get by. I'm
gosh.
trying to find the fucking eyeball.
Pretty sure
Oh,
someone's walking up on me.
Alright.
Whew, okay, no, we're
stabbed
good.
me in my dick.
Oh my god, that was awful. I just wanted to find the eyeball.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Also, button if you want to hold that one.
Scary
I can get
priest
the other
man.
one.
Where's the other
Actually-
button? Do you know where it is?
It's right here.
Oh god.
This one?
Hit the other button. Hit that button I just pinged.
Where'd you ping it at? Oh,
There it is.
okay.
I was hearing it minty.
Okay.
All right, let's see what we got. Nothing.
Give.
Wow. Nothing.
What do you mean? There's a bunch of stuff to increase like maximum
Nothing.
health, maximum
Nothing.
stamina.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
Oh Jesus.
Look
I
at
thought
me.
it was an enemy.
Start using all of them.
I don't know
I get
where
all
this
the
fucking
juices.
key's at. Pissing me off, actually.
Is there other things that's supposed to be in here? I'm sad there's no lore.
I think we get done once we get the keys is for the generator bit. Will you fuck off?
Oh, we
Get
just
rid
need
of
one
me.
more amulet.
We just may not have come across it yet. Oh, this is the one you just got? Okay.
How do I get out of here? Oh, here we go.
Uh oh.
Nope.
Exit this way.
Man.
The toilet.
No, oh my god, hi!
Where the fuck? Where in fuck?
I found Lilia. Hi, Ash. Where are you going?
I'm looking for the eyeball.
Never mind. I was gonna make
Oh,
a
you're
joke
good.
saying
It's
don't
this
look
way.
behind you and just be behind you.
It's back towards the graveyard this way. Usually. Also, was
Wait,
that
so we
her?
don't have. Do we not have the
Oh.
eyeball key?
Oh, hi.
Watch out. There's a. Yeah, watch out. Ah! What the fuck is this dumbass eyeball? That's stupid.
That's heart. Okay, never mind. Stamina.
This game's bug.
Oh shit. Oh shit. No! No, don't hit me! I want the A+.
Wait, I see a question mark. Is this it? Is this it? Is this it?
Where is it?
Why can't I get over there? Is that eyeball? Eyeball!
Oh, you found it?
Oh, I found it.
Hell yeah.
I'm shoving my hand in her throat right now.
Oh, you doing it
Hooray!
with that
Hooray! Hooray!
Ghost.
Hooray!
Yes.
You hiding back there? What you doing?
I got an amulet. Yay!
Oh, okay. Hell yeah. Worth it. Never mind. I take it back.
All right.
Here, I'll get what side?
You gotta put them in. Whoever has the
Wait.
keys has to put them in.
Oh yeah. Hey!
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
All right, somebody's gonna have to get her to
Whoa!
run
Whoa!
away.
That's ahoy! Whoa!
Someone's gonna have to get her.
Actually,
Yeah, somebody's gonna have to get that. I do have a bottle.
oh shit! Nope. Get lost, lady. Here, just like back up and she'll go away. And she's like, whatever, fuck you.
All right, cool.
We got
The
this, Goose.
screams, the body of
Wow!
Christ.
Wow, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Yum, 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 yum. Yeah!
It's just getting a snack for zombies. Like, here you go, have a leg.
All right, time to start the sermon.
Step inside.
Oh yeah, blood
step
party.
inside.
Yeah.
Body of crust.
The body of
Ah, yes, Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Hi, Anchorman. Welcome in.
Ouch.
Ah, yes.
Jesus. What?
I'm gonna be the most annoying kid at school tomorrow.
Yeah, get her ass.
The big guy's gonna come through that door too.
Ow, what the fuck?
Oh, he's not. He usually does.
Man.
Oh yeah.
Ah.
It's okay. I took all the boosted
Oh.
stats. I'm absolutely ass blasted to the sun and back.
You're absolutely geeked right now.
Drugs.
Stamina. I don't need to worry about stamina.
Oh, man, I
Drugs,
still
drugs,
stepped on
drugs,
it.
drugs, drugs.
Oh, it's the giant lady. Oh shit.
Oh,
I don't
boy.
have anything to throw.
Use this to stun her. Use this to stun her. Okay.
Now she's bombing us. There you go.
Let me in.
Wait, ta-da!
Hey.
Save plus. Let's go.
There's two.
And I was
Good
right.
man.
Sub 20 minutes.
Wow, look at you.
Oh, wait, I got an A+. Never mind.
I got a B plus. Got slapped on the way out.
Oh my god. Could you be in
Slap
a
my
pro?
ass.
Oh, it wasn't too bad.
Tolerable, tolerable,
Except
tolerable,
that fucking
tolerable.
mannequin that was killing me.
The mannequin fucking dude
Oh my
combo.
God.
Watching it double teamed was crazy.
That's
damn.
fucking blowed.
I just leveled up twice.
I leveled up like 3 times. It was kind of crazy. And all I got out of it was like $4.
Hi, Jess. 4 dollops.
Dollops.
$400.
I mean, there was the point early in the game's
$400.
progression where, after a certain point, it actually increased the number of tickets per level you got, but then they changed it back to 2.
You make this making the mother of all arts here, Jack. Can't tread over every
A wheel of punishment and another Armstrong.
He says I'm getting better.
Better. You're getting
Alright,
better
let's see.
as you
Did-
play the
did
footage.
that
and
go
you're getting
towards-
jumped.
Okay, it did. It did go towards
Yeah.
towards the
Oh, I
the,
did all
the-
my dailies.
what's it
Hooray.
called? The 2-year anniversary. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I leveled up
Oh, I
yet
don't get
again.
XP anymore. Oh no.
Damn. Oh, you need to do the thing.
Prestige, yeah.
Is
It's
prestige
time
just?
to relapse.
Oh, is it relapse? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was something else. I'm gonna go spend all my
Once you
extra
relapse,
points on
you-
on leveling
you
up the
start all
jammer.
over.
I just finished the jammer. I'm like, let's go.
I was one perk short of maxing it.
Same. I needed
Yeah, I'll
$2.
accept these when I actually relapse. So.
Oh right, this is Ash's room. You can tell by the
Yeah.
flesh under the bed.
No.
I like the
Ash, you gonna
purple
eat
covers.
I do too. It's cute. I tried it with other ones, but it just didn't fit right.
It goes good with the purple.
The art ball.
Oh, it just always wants you to buy
Purple.
stuff from the black market, so it always leaves a ping on it.
I kind of wish that shit would change, like at least like once a month.
I know, right?
I want something new.
I gotta go buy catalog things. Yes,
Yeah,
the movie
that's
theater
right.
setup.
I could buy another catalog.
Your sweater vest.
Want to?
Hmm.
21 days.
Crazy. All right.
That icon has titties on it. That's crazy.
What do you mean crazy?
I was crazy once.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot what we're playing.
Oh.
I'm doing good. Wait, there was something I was supposed to address. What was it? Oh, it was my own mod quoting the nonsense that I said at the end of that. All right, what do we want to do next? Also, what are these featured trial maker?
Featured trial maker. I
Remember
didn't
the
understand
family
that
by
shit either.
Joker?
Yeah, people can make their own trials. It's cool. I never tried them.
Oh no. Oh, okay. It includes toxic shock,
Everything.
bomb countdown, the Jaeger is present, psychosurgery, so you come with
Ew.
maximum trauma, which means maximum
Oh.
number of enemies on the map.
Rad.
You get no items and none of your perks. Enraged enemies, so they're always on high alert.
Well,
Limited
just
hiding
play
spots
isolation.
2. And then no running.
God.
Oh,
Running
this
was
sounds
results in
easy,
shock
guys.
damage.
What's the worst thing that happens?
So this
Let's
person
age from
just
that.
picked like the fucking factory map and decided that he was going to put all of the worst
there-
fucking perks into it.
Let's see.
Let's,
Trial
uh,
maker.
Let's,
You didn't
let's
get
not
anything
do
good.
that. That sounds horrible.
Complete
That
10
sounds
trials for
like-
trial maker. You get 100 or 1,000 XP. Ugh.
You literally get more doing the special ones.
Escalation is fun.
Yeah.
I do like a
haven't tried that
escalation. I played
yet.
a bit of it. Do we want to
haven't
keep
tried
doing
that
the
yet.
special therapy and we can do the large ones, ignoring just spoil
I
the
could
auction,
do-
of course?
I can do one more and then I gotta go.
Okay, do you want to do Vindicate the Guilty or do you want to do a shorter one?
Gosh, what do they have? So much to choose.
Vindicate the
How much
Guilty,
is it?
eliminate the legacy, flatten the foreman, fabricate the scandal, empty the vault.
Oh, empty the vault. Well, let's do that.
Okay, I've never done empty the vault.
What's that?
You need
It
some
looks-
decoders. Run
Yeah.
around. The baby man's gonna shoot you, etc., etc.
Yeah, it looks like it's
No,
kitty
I
map.
Draco!
I remember this trial.
Bambino.
This trial.
I hate Franco.
Franco, you know he's got a baby's head.
He also has a
Oh,
really weird
baby.
baby fetish.
I like when he chases you around. He's like, "Goo goo gaga, I need milk."
I mean, he has a pacifier around his neck too. And when you find him in like the first map he shows up in, he's literally curled up in the lap of some woman's corpse.
What makes it funnier? He's the voice actor for Arthur character. Baxter, or what's his name? Baxter or some shit? The rabbit?
Oh,
Crazy.
the white rabbits
Gaga.
Yeah, the white rabbit.
from that old, I forget what series. Is it
That's
from a PlayStation
Franco.
game?
No, Arthur is like an old like kids cartoon.
Buster back.
Buster.
Buster from Arthur? Oh my god.
Yeah.
I thought that show was funny.
That's crazy.
Did I tell you that?
Buster really grew up to be
No,
something.
I think I saw it. I saw it though. Scrolling through Twitter and shit, and I'm like, oh wow.
Buster Rabbit.
Was it one of those posts that's like the same voice actor by the wing?
Yeah.
I think my favorite is one that was the voice actor of that one girl from Persona where she's, is that the Grim Reaper?
Like the one where it's Blue from Foster's Home, but the voice actor plays a character in Kingdom Hearts. The guy with the pink hair that's in Organization 13.
Yep.
Oh my god, he's Marluxia?
Marluxia. I did not know that. That's fucking crazy.
Voice actors are scary.
They really are.
Arthur, hi man,
my
what are you
bottle.
doing here? Free ambulance, thank you.
What the fuck?
Gaga.
Dexter needs
his
bottle, Arthur.
He starts
That's
scrolling
creepy as
his
fuck that she was just like right there at the start.
What? Oh, I forgot. Oh, fuck, I forgot about the things on her. Get hit in the ankle. Ouchie. I forgot.
We gotta break into the
curls
wall.
its hand into a fist.
Oh right, this is gonna have bombs on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't play this one often.
All right, here it is. We have to grab these.
We're grabbing drugs.
Drugs.
These?
Oh boy, drugs.
Oh,
Drugs.
come upstairs, y'all.
What are these
There's a
pictures
Dakota
of?
for everyone. There's a Dakota for
Fine. Oh, fuck, there she is. Oh, God.
Shipping yard, Kim Company, train
Sorry,
depot.
out. It sucks.
Oh, wait, she's already out. Lily is already
Yeah.
about.
I saw her.
Alright.
I saw her downstairs.
I'm gonna check the shipping yard. What am I looking for? A triangle? Okay. A
Oh,
triangle.
I should be checking.
Holy fuck! No,
Triangle
no.
skull.
You know what?
Oh, baby, no.
That's bad. I'd rather deal with her than Franco.
That didn't work.
Oh shit, that's gonna get me. Oh,
Oh my
I'm-
god!
I'm
Ah!
coded. I side jumped it somehow.
I saw that. That was kind of impressive.
I got smoked.
Why
you
are
doing?
you crying, doggy? Why are you crying?
I was like, oh, who's upset?
Why is he crying?
Jump down.
Pisses me
That
off.
hurt. Yeah, that hurt. That hurt a lot.
He shot me right in my ass.
Shit, are you serious? Oh no.
It's okay. We'll pick the teeth out later.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, shipping yard, train depot. Go to the train depot. Bum bum. Now I forget. Are the symbols only in?
I think they're only in like the train cards.
Yep.
Right?
No.
No,
They're in
I know
the,
they're for sure. Like up on walls, across corners. Screamers right there.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna do this number.
Wait, spotted a screamer.
Yeah, I just pinged a screamer.
Oh. Fucking hate him.
If you ever decoder out, it'll start.
Yeah, it'll start flicking
numbers
through.
If you're close. If you're close.
But,
Open this door. Door.
Hello.
Oh, why?
Oh.
Oh, jeez, you scared the shit out of me.
He's behind us.
Oh no, I'm crazy. Oh shit.
Oh my god, you just... Oh, I thought I had a lockpick. I
Didn't do
don't.
that. I forget. Are we looking for shapes?
Yeah, they'll be like
Looking
painted on the
Symbols on the
wall.
wall. Yeah.
You want to have your decoder out because it'll already start flipping when you get near it.
I'm not. Nah, I got you. I just kind of. I wasn't sure.
I was unclear.
I was unclear.
I have not got my decoder to start flipping in the train depot.
Oh, I fucked up.
Oh, he's right here!
Okay.
How you doing?
Just fucking punched me.
Why is it? Oh, I guess someone got it. fuck?
Oh, there we go. I got a number flip. Oh, here we go. Here
The
it is.
heck? Here?
Yep, I got.
Oh, amulet for me. Thank you.
I need to go stand here.
Another amulet for
I
me.
got 2 flipping. I got it. Oh, ooh. 1 second.
Oh wait, I see a shade. I see a skull.
Scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Hey,
Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Watch out.
598 for the triangle. If anybody's back there.
No, not right now. 591
I'll go
for
back.
the spiral.
I'm trying to find the thing.
All right, we're just gonna chill here for a minute.
Here? I'm lost. You stupid.
He wants his milky bad.
All right, so that was 591 for spiral. Oh, hi. Excuse me.
Oh wait, upstairs.
Yes.
Upstairs.
From my angle, he looked like he just slapped your ass on the way out.
Wait, what did I just get hit by? Oh, explosive, duh.
Oh, I found the skull. Did anybody find the skull?
I got it. I did. Let's see.
Okay.
964 for the skull. What's the triangle?
598.
598?
Yep.
598. Okay. What's the spiral?
591.
591.
Oh, giant.
Alright. All done. All done.
Now we need to carry those to the boat, which is at the entrance.
Oh,
Whatever.
I see you. I gotta go this way. Through the chemical company.
I opened the vault.
Deliver the loot. Oh gosh,
I'll try.
someone's coming through.
Maybe I'll put this down. I don't trust
Get out of here,
myself.
Frankie. Watch out, he's right here.
Nuh-uh.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of this place.
No
Oh,
Pop-Tarts or
Flash.
movies. I'm out of here.
you. Wait, who grabbed the thing?
I grabbed the thing
behind
and I
you.
put it in.
Okay.
There you go. Ah!
Hi.
Fuck you, Franco. Oh, wow, that was really fast.
Wow.
Ow, 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 ouch, ouchie.
I hope
Please don't come to life. Please don't come to life. Please don't come to life.
Ow.
I got you. Go, get it.
Fucking baby
He's
man.
coming. He's coming. I don't have a heal ring right now.
I have a heal.
Alright, well, we're here, so let's go.
We're good.
This hole was made for me.
Yay! Did I get hurt?
Oh,
I
it's
hope
mine. I formed it.
Okay, an A
Oh,
is still
boy.
not bad.
not. Only A. Blech.
7-minute
yay.
time. That was good timing.
Oh, I lost sanity. Fuck.
Hi, Jess.
I did too.
No more XP.
The real nightmare is
It's
asbestos.
time to relapse. You know how to do it.
Yeah, I had to relapse.
Oh. What is that?
Do you need to relapse? We can do it later.
Currency.
Do I? Need, let's see, I need like 6 more levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
I don't.
I'm gonna say,
Oh,
is it still the same as it usually is with them getting your like fake files and stuff,
Fake files.
and the having to get the code phrase,
Just shy
Yeah.
of perfection.
Sheep, spider, something
the
else.
Spider Island.
Spider Island, that's what it was. Spider Island.
Spider Island? I don't like that.
Spider Man.
I don't like
He's a
Spider-
menace.
Fucking menace.
That's Spider Man. So hot.
Spider Island? No.
Looks down at his dick.
We have land of spiders? Yes, it's Australia.
The Daily Bugle. Oh my Daily Bulge. Sorry.
Oh, one of these days, Goose, we need to do the rebirth thing.
Yes! I'll do it.
Because I have like 760.
I was gonna say, isn't the rebirth now it's like it's solo still, right?
It can be
What is it?
either solo or 1 to 4 players. It's
What are
like
the
the-
Solo.
rebirth
Oh,
points?
the rebirth was the new version of the relapse, isn't
it's
it?
the. I really don't know. To be honest.
I thought they weren't doing the reborn thing, and it was like part of it. I have 80 of 100. Damn it.
No, you can relapse and you can just start over and build your shit up.
Yeah.
Wait, do I need to
People
do a
don't like
trial
that.
if I relapse, or do I just like? Go
No.
through?
Oh, well, if you want to relapse now, we need to do a trial.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, no, I can't do that. Wait. So
Do
is
it
the
next
blue? Yeah, we will. Is the blue thing?
The blue thing's for
the-
this.
Yeah, I have 400.
I have like 700.
Yeah.
Little freak.
All right. Was that your last
I
one?
think
I think it
that's
was
a
Goose
different
who said that you could only do one
that
more.
was my last one. Yes.
Get the fuck out of here! I'm sick of
Okay,
you.
you did stick
Whoa,
around.
whoa.
You did stick around longer than you said before. Before it was going to be 1 hour.
It's almost 3.
I pushed through.
Well, thank you for hanging out.
Yeah, of course.
It was a pleasure to meet you,
y'all.
Goose.
Yeah, same.
If you ever need
Okay,
another idiot for
bye.
Outlast, I want to play this game a lot more, but I never want to play it by myself, so I don't have nearly as much time in it as I
Same.
wish.
I am the same exact way. Hold your head.
Oh,
Please,
it's not
if you
so
ever-
bad. It's not so bad.
I love this
play all
game.
the time by
It's
myself.
so I genuinely think it's so super relaxing. I love this.
You know what? Kind of same.
Yeah.
But with you, the way you play DVD, you say that's fucking relaxing, and I think you're psychotic.
I do
for
think
that.
it's relaxing.
You're
And I also think
psychotic.
Resident Evil's relaxing. I think Dark Souls 3 is relaxing. I don't know. It's just the atmosphere. It's vibes.
You're crazy.
Goose.
No!
maybe add
I
you
think
on
there is something
Discord.
about it. I wouldn't say like the word is relaxing. I don't know if the word's cathartic. It's nice. There's something nice about
It's
this
cozy.
game. It's
You're
very
right.
it's very
Yeah.
stylized. It's
Crazy.
retro in a way. I don't know what else to call it.
Oh yeah, no, I love the retro vibes. It's like old 50s,
Yeah.
60s computer technology.
It
Oh,
also
yeah,
has
I
the bit
completely
with like
agree.
the
Mhm,
settings too that both make them feel like realistic, but at the same time have like points where like the facade falls away, where you see like the wire or the cages where the scientists are literally watching you. I think that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
So many times pieces of media will do something where it's like this corporation has kidnapped you to perform these weird tests, and they've tried a little too hard on trying to make it seem like a secret.
Oh, there's a
Like,
what
there's
is
a
it,
Cabin
ton
in the
of lore
Woods?
for this game. There's like a lot of lore.
Yeah,
Pages.
Sure is.
I usually keep up with
Sure
the lore.
is, and I'm never
usually
gonna
through
read
other
them.
people's things of them like collecting the lore and doing it because I don't get to play nearly enough to collect the lore myself. Boom.
Sorry, I'm.
All right, get out of here, guys. You probably have work to do,
alright.
so
Yeah, I do. Okay, bye guys.
go to work.
Later, guys.
Bye, 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 bye.
How do I leave?
Good question.
There's an exit
Okay,
game, exit
okay,
game.
bye.
Wait, how does he get out of this game?
His Twitch name is
Made from-
Goose_Boost, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
He left the group, but he's still there.
It's okay. He'll figure
Well,
it
like,
out. He'll figure it
loaded
out.
the game,
Well, he left the call. No, he's still in the group in the game. He's just his name's still green.
I know, but he could still be in game, but he doesn't have to be in the group.
Oh no, he did leave the group. He's not in it when you click tab. It's just his name's still green.
Yeah.
All right. Are y'all still good to keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can go for another half hour, maybe.
It
Yeah, I'll
works
go
for
for like
me.
one or two more.
Terminal.
Terminal.
No, I'm gone. I don't know who that is. Okay, Stranger Danger. Got it.
Wait, we've been playing this for 3 hours. I don't feel like it.
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of like.
The thing too is we're making really good match time, so it feels weird that it's been 3.5 hours.
Gosh.
All right, give me a
That's
quick
crazy.
second because I know somebody redeemed Wheel of Punishment, so I need to see if I'm going to be doing a self punishment later. Spin, spin, spin. Tell us the sins we will win.
Actually, what's the other shit? What's on the...
I got to
on
do 50
special
squats later.
therapy?
All right.
Every match in this game can be like 5 minutes to 40 minutes. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I can do
It
cancel
could be even
autopsy
longer
like
if it's
in under 5
the
minutes.
auction one. If you do
God.
just spoil the auction, you got to bring snacks. You're like legally required
What?
to, otherwise you'll starve to
Oh
death
yeah,
while
like
playing it.
like I said, I
don't
think
think I've done
the
that
timer, the timer that we had it on, like it was like 86 minutes. It was almost 2 fucking hours. Cause it takes so long to try to get the jewels and stuff.
I don't know how we escaped it, but we did.
I kind of want to do. Wait, should I? Wonder if we should do the new MK stuff. I haven't tried flatten the foreman or eliminate the legacy. Who's in here? Is what I would like to know. Let's see. My toy factory. Flatten the foreman.
Do we want to do more special therapy? Or do we want to start like trying to grind out the 2-year stuff? Like we could just go do the normal versions.
I'm down for whatever.
Let me actually double check. Tasks, daily task. Might as well claim that while I'm here. Here is okay. Vindicate the guilty is in here, so we could do vindicate the guilty, and it'll count both for the special therapy and for that other one.
You're right. You're so right.
It's thinking big, big brain. It's why my forehead's
trying
so
to remember.
huge.
Just trying to remember what it does for this one.
Yeah, special therapy. I think another thing that's very interesting about Lilia, isn't Lilia also... She doesn't technically have any limbs, right? Like, all her limbs are prosthetics?
I did not know that.
Actually, I don't know.
I know both of her
I
hands
haven't really
are.
read up to everything.
If you look at, like, the icon right now, where she has, like, the sword sticking out, you can see that her right arm is a prosthetic that's stuck to her chest. That she just sticks the blade into.
Okay. Well.
I just realized your stance in the menu is flipping double middle finger.
You just noticed?
I just noticed.
I didn't even know we could have stances. That idea gonna be so real.
I think it's in like some of the newer catalogs is where they are, but they're usually towards the end.
I don't want to be naked anymore. I feel cold.
go get
Put some
James.
clothes on.
I'll keep in just a second because I'm gonna go
Okay, fine.
buy the last perk level for that
Jammer.
one thingamadoohickey.
Doohickey
The
with
jammer,
thing.
there it is. That's the word. That's the word I was looking for.
Good look out there.
Do I not have underwear? I don't. Let's see. Dogs. I really need to go potty.
If you can take him out for a couple minutes, we can take a break.
I don't take that long. I just need to do this real fast. Then I'll go take him out to go pee-pee.
What kind of dog do you have?
They're Rottweilers. I have 2 of
I was
them.
gonna say, if I remember correctly,
my
you have
God.
multiple. You have the hounds.
I do have the hounds. The hellhounds.
You
Who's
sounded
that?
like what's his name? Fucking from Smiling Room. I have the house.
The hounds. I
Dirty
didn't
brown
know about
water.
the factoid.
In factoid, I have the hellhounds.
Little
Love
Roddy's.
Alan.
Wait, Goose, send me that video. I need things to watch later tonight. drop it in the group. I want to watch some of your videos tonight.
Oh my god, you'll hear me get pissed off at that fucking game too.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the door video.
Yeah, it's the door video. I can't switch my thing. Okay, I guess I'll be a whore.
Well, couldn't you swim?
This age.
I'm a whore. I think this is
Pouring
kinda
it up
cool.
yet again, Miss Ma'am.
Yeah.
Oh, good
That
lord.
looks cool. Yeah.
Why is your face tinted like that? It's concave.
I'm
What
cute.
happened?
The whole face is just generally concave.
But I'm adorable. I'm cute.
Yeah, you're definitely.
Also, hold on. Is that your is that your actual brain exposed, or is there just like a meat?
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't really look.
I'm not
it's-
sure if it is or if it's just like overlaid.
Oh, that's cool.
Your head.
I didn't see that.
Looks like
Wait a
your
minute, I have
meat
to
is
look.
exposed on me.
The thing is,
That's
I don't
cool, I
think
didn't
it's
see
your brain
that.
exposed. I want to think it's just like meat over like a
Wait,
metal
I have to
helmet.
look.
Yeah, that I wonder if it's like the meat. Just I don't know.
I've been down for the past week because I beat a game. What game did you beat? Was it Kingdom
Oh my
Hearts?
god, that is my brain. Oh, that's so cool. I didn't
When
notice
you
that.
walk away.
You don't hear me say,
This is such a cool room
"Please."
setting. Although the fireplace is very funny.
Don't go. Except I do go. I'll be right back. Take my fucking dogs out.
All right, leave her with some privacy. Now get back in. Give me. Okay. Anyway, leave her in her flesh
At
room.
least she put shoes on. At least she put those dogs away. Damn.
Code Vein 2. Oh, you already finished it? Didn't that game just come out recently?
Yeah, I was gonna say that literally came out like what, like a week and a half ago.
Okay, that's enough time to actually finish it. I don't know anything about Code Vein. The only thing I know about Code Vein 2 is that there are two giant women that I really like. They're
I know
very
nothing.
pretty.
I was gonna say, you know more than I do. All I know is Code Vein is anime Dark Souls.
I only know because it was the white-haired lady that shows up in all the trailers. Then somebody showed like meeting her in the game for the first time, and she's like 12 feet tall.
Oh.
The thing is, though, if you look at them too long, if you look at some of there's a merchant who's also really tall who has like the black like Hime haircut. But if you look at them too long, you realize how weirdly long both of their necks are.
Oh, I love that and hate that. I started a playthrough on a game with a friend, and then it's an older game, and I didn't realize how long the neck was of some characters.
It's just some of those stylizations. There's a lot of anime that's like that. If you look at them too long, then you're just like, wait a second. Why is their
Why
head
your
so
neck
tiny
so
and their neck
long?
so long?
They got that one piece of fucking frame to their body.
Oh, exactly. I was just thinking, like, there's some One Piece characters that have that problem.
Yeah. It was funny because a friend of mine are showing our friend who's never seen One Piece before, like early One Piece from the start, and I was said like, "Ooh, some of this is really rough. Why is his head like half the size of his body?" They got them VTuber necks is crazy.
Hold on. I'm going to find a picture so that I can put it in the group thing to show you. The worst
Yes,
door in
please.
survival horror? Oh, no. There better be a door stuck meme in there.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Let me see if I can find.
Let me see if I can find. Oh, here's the merch. Oh, wait, no, that's way too small. That's like tiny thumbnail size.
Like
This will kind of do, but she's kind of small in the corner.
like right here.
These were the two
Look at this
characters I
dude's
saw.
hands.
Jesus.
His hands are so fucking big. And they're even bigger in the anime. I was like,
Jadwiger
hello?
is her name? Okay. Code Vein 2. Okay, here's a closer picture. I do think the texturing for these characters is pretty good, though.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, oh,
I just deleted the other ones to give you a better look.
oh yeah, like at first glance, like hot woman, and then you like stare, and you're like, wait a second, why is her neck that long?
Why her neck so long and why her boobs so big?
Every cup size, they had to increase her neck by 1 inch. Oh my god, I'm going on your fourth wall. I'm looking at your merch.
Oh, the fourth wall is only a desk mat right now.
That's fair. That's a sick.
V2 Horizon has a
The-
bunch of other stuff. Glassware,
Horizon.
bottles, knickknacks of all kinds, acrylic stands.
Do you have to get like partnered with them or anything like that?
With
or
V2
can you
Horizon,
just-
my friend is the owner of the company.
Oh,
So I was
well.
like one of the first people that was like in whenever they started the company.
That's sick. Yeah, because I know like things like Uvu. Mark,
No, I didn't, Jess. I was talking to the group.
You have to like
Wait,
be
say that
like
again?
partner or something.
Oh,
I know it's
I honestly
merch
don't know.
places,
It's
yeah.
because it's if you've ever seen Master Biggles around, they're the one who runs it, and a lot of the times it's usually just like VTubers that they like that they'll snatch up, or sometimes even just make stuff for them. But if you check the
That's-
website, you
you
may
know,
be
I-
able to see if they've put out like a form or something. I
That's
don't know
cool.
for sure.
Because there's some like merch sites. I'm like, oh, that'd be so cool to be able to like make merch of. And it's like, are you partnered streamer? What is your viewer count? What is this? What is that? Oh, we don't want you. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's
Starts.
even to get partnered with Gamer Subs. I sent application after application for like more than 2 years, every roughly like 3 months, and never got a response. Not even a decline. It took like 3 of my friends that were already partnered with them to reach out to their like ambassadors and be like, hey, I know this person who really wants to partner with y'all. And then they got to me in 10 minutes.
That's kind of wild. Ooh, this glassware is super cute. What the fuck?
Yeah, the glassware is great. I have my own water bottle. I use it quite literally every day. It's fantastic. And I keep it here, but because I haven't got to use it because I don't drink much alcohol, but I have my whiskey glass. It's very good,
gotta
very
change
high
that-
quality.
okay.
It's laser etched.
That's what I was about to ask me. How do they etch it? But that's
Yeah,
sick.
it's laser etched. They have both white and black for them.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I like Fourth Wall, but like some of their stuff, like when they're printing, I don't know, it feels like it could be a little better, but like it's good. Like
Yeah.
I have a shirt and like that I have from them, and like after I put it through the wash like once or twice, all the like graphic is just like I'm gone.
Yeah, I have one of the shirts that I got from there that has I can't remember. I think it's cotton. I think that's what it's made out of, and it's like faded into the shirt at this point, so it's not the same as like the like kind of cheapish screen printing that some of their shirts have.
Yeah,
It's
I think that's
sometimes
what
it's
the one I
really
have
picking
is.
the like right material with Fourth Wall.
I agree. That's why I'm
Heck is
happy.
that
At least
person
also,
wearing?
that's why I'm happy. I also picked up a hoodie too because at least I don't have to really worry all that much with hoodies. What the fuck is this?
That's what I was like,
What the
is that
fuck is
person-
you?
Don't you say that to me. What the fuck is you?
Who the fuck is you?
What are
Who's
you?
you fuck?
I don't know, but I kind of like the
Yeah.
lace gloves and stockings. They're kind of cute.
Hang on.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, I like the gloves and stockings. What's this like purple hand on their
The Stitch latex suit is kind of
the
scary.
purple hand on the coochie? I don't know. What are you trying to do here?
oh, it's a
That
blow
guy's
up doll.
cute.
oh!
It's a whole blow up doll that's just deflated and then tied around her.
I
That
thought she
is
had
cute.
a.
So it's the
Low-key, I
hand
thought
of the
she just-
blow up doll that's like tied around and then sewed on.
Oh, low key. I thought she was like trying to
Wow.
do the hoodie wrapped around her waist. Like
There's
I just pissed my
cunty
pants.
right above the bra strap.
That is
Underneath
is
is
very
this slutty
cunty.
something.
Doll Mrs. S. This person's like, what are you all doing? Why am I surrounded by
you're so beautiful.
We're observing. We're observing. I'm pretty sure this is one of the catalog outfits too.
I was looking for it and I didn't see it unless it was like a.
I think I want to say it's one of the older ones. Because I remember the
be.
hand thing because I thought it was unusual when it came out.
That's cute. Oh, that.
If it's a blow up doll, then it's a blow up doll. Oh no! Oh no!
there? The
All right. Stare at the gun strap. What? All right.
That-
Are we-
that- I
are we
read that
ready
and I
to
was like,
do- what was it? The one I selected was the Vindicate the Guilty. Vindicate the Guilty.
Vindicate the
This is the one where we're in the courthouse and we have to
Yes.
Are we executing the judge? Is that what this one is in the long run?
I think so.
It's like destroy the evidence, melt the heads, all that stuff.
Yeah. Wait, what am I dressed up
Your
as?
your skull
You're the-
meeting
you're
is
the
great
weird-
today, zombie.
Padded tin man with the concave face and
beautiful.
the brain case.
Yeah.
I'm beautiful.
Beautiful.
I didn't know there was the brain sticking out in the back. That's cool.
It's very you coded.
Me? Are you calling
Yeah.
me a slutty brained whore? Aw.
I'm
No, you just eat brains.
Sure.
I thought we covered this.
You got me not knowing how to respond. You know what? Whatever. Ash with her braid out for everyone to see. What a whore.
You get so attached to
God,
these
that was my
characters that their
fishnet.
absence is stressful and depressing.
We cannot allow the tyranny
Yes, for about 30 minutes after playing the game.
condemn the people who protect and guide you. The
Yeah,
past is
okay.
changeable. The future is set.
Well,
Sabotage the
depends.
court. Kill the
What do you mean the
judge,
future
and
is
he will
set?
let you
The
out.
past is changeable? What?
They're just doing some good drugs.
That's true. We are all
I
on
also only
drugs.
just noticed. It just clicked that they changed the graphics of the gas that they pour into the thing. Is there
I
a more
noticed that
reason for
too. I'm like, I thought there was a different.
Because the gas is like a lot lighter now. It doesn't kind of fill the whole room.
Yeah.
I noticed that too.
I think there's a lore reason, because I do know at some point in the lore notes they talk about how the like old gas basically made the like sprayer dudes, and they started a cult based around it in like the X-Pops. So maybe they've like redone the formula in lore.
Maybe they're supposed to bring the Amelia stuff back after this is over.
Okay. Oh.
Hey!
Yes,
Did you find another one?
What? Yeah, we did.
I was gonna check these side rooms because
Mine.
oh darn it. Go ahead and break this.
Where?
Well damn. Oh Jesus.
Hi, how are you?
Oh
What
giant.
the fuck?
Oh,
He came out of nowhere. Holy shit. That was awfully fast. Here. Go
They
ahead,
come around, then we
go.
can just run inside. Yeah, I was gonna
Thanks,
say he comes out of the courtroom after you kind of like round the corner.
So he came out pretty fast.
I'm gonna shut the door. Right in your face.
I'm gonna go ahead and take that.
ow, what the fuck? Oh, I'm stupid.
A pouch. Hey buddy, how's the acid bath? Hi Khalil.
Oh wait.
This is my favorite closet case. Oh, there's another Lilia. Hello, ma'am. All right, who wants to go up? Oh, I'll go up.
Wait, help me up. Can't you help me up? Or
No, you can't. It's a drop. It's an up and over. But I opened the
Oh,
secret
okay.
door.
for me?
Screamer.
Up and down and all around.
Oh, there's Laura right there on the
Oh,
bookshelf.
sick.
Where is
Is this brain exposed? Just no, he's wearing a cap. Okay.
Ass exposed? Okay. Where are
Give
you?
me the lore.
Bitch.
I want it.
I want the Laura too.
I'm a lore whore.
A Laura horror.
Listen,
Yeah.
even a
on,
multiplayer
jump.
horror game can still have good lore.
Yeah.
Oh, why do you keep doing that? Why did you do that? Oh, uh-oh. Ash got jumped.
Get out of here. That's okay. I got it. I have
Okay.
stuff. I think that was a challenge for something. I can't.
Oh, you're way
remember
back there.
And how many?
You coming?
Yo, I'm gonna swap this bottle for another bottle.
Another bottle? Damn, that's
I'm
crazy.
gonna take this bottle and that bottle and even this bottle.
All these bottles are mine.
Oh, you want me to go this way? Okay.
Oh,
What was that sound?
Loud. What's that sound? I don't know.
Oh, we have to go over here?
scary. In the library.
Person.
Do I hear the screamer?
Yeah, there's a screamer in the library. He was tucked in the corner.
Okay. You know you can hit him and he can go away.
Oh yeah, I do know that.
Okay.
Here, we'll just hide behind this pew. It's fine. How you doing?
We'll play patty cake. It's okay.
Why are you
Patty
like
cake,
right in my
patty
ear?
Cake baker's man.
Thursday.
Bake me cake as fast as you can.
As you can.
Oh my god, please. I did not go anywhere near you.
So they just had murder escape rooms under Mount Massive the whole time? Oh no, this isn't Mount Massive. This is the Ciala facility from Outlast 2. You know, the big factory place that makes the big whoom sound. Except those games take place 50 years in the future.
Nope, you don't.
Yeah,
I want
this
the
is
jewels.
64, 65 right now in the Ciala facility. But Mount
need to be
Massive
in
is
the
still
normal
relevant
times.
because all of the expot, the average people that are chasing us are from Mount Massive. And from the first Project Lathe, as it were. We're the second Project
shit.
Lathe.
Am I really lost?
Are you still in the library?
Yeah.
All right, I'm coming. I'm bringing
Want
the
this
cherry
door
pop
right
too
here?
while I'm at it. Wait, did they lock the door?
Fuck off. That's what I think it is. I think they do like lock
Here,
the
Ash.
gates and shit. Oh. Unless that's a different thing. Yeah, like these. They can lock these.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the X-Pop actually locked doors.
Oh.
Push the button.
Putin.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, the state accuses my
Shut up. Fuck you.
I can only guess the mechanics for this little robot dude is under his feet.
To which I say, where is your evidence of these heinous crimes?
Under his shoes.
I'm wasting battery. Oh fuck.
It's also kind of the same thing with this lady.
Unlock the evidence.
I also swear this judge was a woman at one point, but now it sounds like a man.
Oh yeah, we need to do the.
Yeah, I think you need to interact with it first.
The.
Yeah, it is. There it is.
There we go. So 0, 1,
2,
9.
9.
2, 9. 0, 1, 2, 9.
Give head.
That's a head.
Hey.
Yep, it's the evidence. Because
So
this is a
hell-
totally
hell yeah.
normal form of evidence.
Yeah, we have to grab the head and then get some acid. And
Yeah, the ass is
destroy
gonna be in
the
that room right there in
evidence.
just a second. It's gonna unlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and don't run with the acid. You'll burn
Correct.
yourself.
Yeah, it kind of hurt.
It's a little crispy.
That's kind of
Extra
hurt.
crispy.
A little hurt. Yeah.
Alright. A large bottle of
I want a drink.
medicine.
Am I want to
Alright,
drink?
Ash got the soup.
Oh my god, soup time?
Soup time.
Why is the soup
I
that
believe we have to get.
Because
We
the
have to get 2
soup
more. That's
is highly corrosive.
Good soup. Good soup.
Okay, we already got
I
them.
love my corrosive soup.
Oh.
Alright. Go up for acid first. This is also when Quail comes out, so keep an eye. Wait, no, that's Lilia.
Crazy bitch. I kind of wish I had my x-ray. It will. Ooh, what's his face is out? Keemstar. I forget his
Keemstar?
fucking name. Yeah, he looks like Keemstar.
Oh, Quail?
Yeah.
I can see it.
Just look at it real hard and they look identical.
If you look really hard and squint, and maybe fart.
Be fart.
I mean, you could fart, but they look the same to me. Wait, what?
Okay, well, I have one thing of. Oh!
Uh-oh.
How do I put it down?
Oh,
I need... right click, right click, right click. I'm a battery.
I think Lilia was also with him.
oh, wait, well, yeah, she is. Wait, where'd she come from?
Where can I... Oh, battery. I'm playing long enough and I can find shit. Me? Thank you.
Hi. on.
Oh wait, my dumbass got lost again.
Hi, a brick.
Let me get back where I came from.
2 bottles and a brick.
2 whole bottles and a brick.
All the average people
Ooh.
for Mount Massive? Average? Kind of, yeah.
Say, you know.
Oh gosh.
And then the,
My ear lady. Is she upstairs?
yeah, she's upstairs.
Okay, well.
She
The,
whispered in my ear.
I remember the...
Hello.
Yeah, the stuff that takes place in the original Outlast is part of a separate experiment, still also
Excuse
done
me?
by Murkoff.
Ouch.
Fuck off.
Okay, I've got a long way to
You
hobble
fucking
with
man.
this.
Oh fuck!
I do think the acid is up here.
I'm carrying
Unless
one
you already
right
got it.
now. So there's still at least one more acid up there. Oh, come on!
I'm a little crazy.
Bitch.
That's crazy.
She just
This
came
is
down the
crazy.
stairs
I mean, a little
right in
bit.
fucking front of me. Hi, excuse me.
Was there two containers of it?
Yes, I dropped one of them.
Oh, I found one of these.
Oh, okay. Alright, bitch. You
what happens
fucking
if
whore.
I'm just asking in advance. What happens if I fuck up the evidence block?
You take damage.
At least ping.
You get shocky shock.
Oh my
Understandable.
god, leave me alone.
I also can't figure out what's like pertaining to hearing Lilia's voice and when not.
Unless it's like linked to all the mannequins. Oh my god!
Oh, it could be. No, he's
Me too,
upset
dog.
for you.
God. Get the fuck out of here. Oh no,
Oh,
either
fuck,
barking.
never mind. I'm gonna come back. Oh.
I just heard her.
I'm
I just heard her
I'm
move.
gonna hide my. I'm gonna hide my little. I'm gonna hide my little ass right here.
Is she here? Oh, yep, there she is. Oh shit. I just want to get my acid, Lilia. Jesus. Oh my god, you are so fast. She really does lock on to people really well.
She
She
sure
does. It's
do.
kind of intense.
Also, I'm getting pulled away, so I'll BRB. It shouldn't be long.
I still have her on me. And I'm all the way outside.
Oh. Please have some sane juice in here. I don't know what this does. I'm using it.
Okay, I think I
Oh,
lost
my
her,
neighbor.
but there's no telling where she's going to go back to try and reset to.
Alright, I found the acid that you dropped.
Yeah, that's the one I haven't been able to pick up yet. Kind of
I
hoping
have to
she
bring
resets
this-
outside where I left her. Now that she didn't open the door, so I think she is resetting outside. Did y'all not find, you haven't found the second acid?
No. I found the second evidence, but I didn't find the,
You haven't brought the evidence to the fountain though.
No, I was getting attacked by Coil.
Oh, okay, I got you.
He was like, "You're looking really pretty." I was like, "No, please."
Alright, I'm gonna look for the other acid. Oh, Jesus. Whew.
I need to find a battery. No, actually, first I need to find something that makes me sane again because... Oop. Battery ran out. Hello.
Jesus, hi. I don't have a battery to give you, sadly.
It's okay.
Lockpick.
I can kind of see.
Okay, this one's marked as acid room, but I think this is where I got mine.
Oh, sane stuff. Let's go. I'm not crazy.
Yeah, because I got mine like right here.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a different room marked for it. Have a good night, Akon. Thank you for hanging out. Okay, so there's got to be... box of nails. Here's a battery if you need it.
Oh, my birthday. Thank you so much. I'll be able to see. What's on the other side of this wall?
I think there's a flamethrower guy here.
Oh, not the gas man.
Not the gas man, no, the one that throws Molotovs.
Oh.
Okay, no, it's just the machete guy, never mind.
Ah, yes, this stabby.
Well,
Oh my god, I can see now. Now I just need to remember where I found the evidence room so I can do that again. Hello.
God damn it. Oh, there's another mechanic box here if you need another battery. There is a battery in there, but there's about to be poison, so just wait for the poison to go off. Oh, there's the acid. Of course it was through a bashable door. Fuck you, Screamer.
Oh,
Alright.
I love how casually I scared.
Hello! Oh, fuck off, dude.
Well, why is there a fucking machete guy here?
Because the Screamer went off, so he's coming towards the sound. I'm gonna go ahead and bash this down. Why does this one have an amulet when we've collected all the amulets?
Found the other thing of acid.
That's what I was saying, it was in here.
Oh.
There's a Lilia here that still has an amulet.
Does she?
And we have all 12. Just... I got you. Here, bud. He's not... Okay, he isn't interested in me. Come on. Come on. Alright, he's still coming. Oh, he just swings through. Alright, now he's coming through. Go. Go, 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 go. Where's my brick?
You go.
Oh, I guess my brick broke.
No, not your brick.
My brick broke! No! Let's see, I don't trust that the mannequin I saw that still had an amulet. Yeah, you shouldn't be jumping rails with the acid.
I grabbed the amulet off of it. It's fine.
Oh, okay, so it does function like the posters.
Imagine if it was just a ploy to get you to get stabbed, just in case you weren't thinking.
Well, I can see that. I mean, that's what it does. That's what she does in the auction one. When you start scanning for like the icon and stuff, she'll just jump on you.
Really?
Is that in the cabin
Really?
house
What?
too?
Is my poop on the floor?
No. I was just agreeing with you. Like,
Really?
All right, let's go do.
my bad. I
evidence
didn't.
Time.
I didn't mean to be that long.
Oh, you're fine. You just give shit out of me for a second. All right, let's go get evidence. We need to go collect heads. Oh, hi, Coil.
You said give head. Or collect head.
I was gonna say, one of those is not Twitch safe.
I like that. I like that for some reason. Like Lilia's thing is like her actual head, but for Coil it's just his badge. to go ahead and open this shortcut door. Nice. That'll be very useful for getting the evidence out. My fucking eyes.
Is it where it's filled on the triangle? It's spot.
Empty is the first one. One
Empty
filled
is
is the
first.
second. 2 is the third.
We're all right. 6, 0, 7, and then what's the last one? I can't find the last one.
Yeah, sometimes they're hidden real well in these other
0,
rooms.
7, 0.
you said 6, 7.
No.
I was waiting for it. I was
There's
waiting
an
for
arm
it.
here.
Honestly.
Go back from the
0,
ad break.
7. Where's the last one? I don't see it. Am I
Sometimes it
blind?
can be tucked onto like shelves and stuff.
Give me. Oh fuck! I'm gonna fucking die if I don't get off this.
Oh, this is the other room.
Dude, if it. Oh wait, hold on! Don't touch it.
Oh, of course, y'all. It's locked.
Oh, that's what that fucking does. I didn't know that. I didn't know it make noise. Thought maybe something explodes.
Lilia?
Oh god, Lilia. Oh, you good. Oh, I forgot my thing don't work. Oh no.
Oh, fuck! She came to me.
Oh god.
And I'm just gonna
Oh my god, they're
lock
both in
myself in
here.
here for a
That
minute.
sucks ass. Hold up.
3. Ash, no! My
Oh
daughter!
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Her titties in my face. I'm scared.
I only see 3. Where are the others?
God.
3
use
something
my
1.
rig.
Oh my god, that's both of them. Ow!
My bad. I didn't know you were in there. Wait, I'm gonna grab a doohickey here.
Alright, I got both of them on me. Go ahead and res player.
I'm going to, if we can. Oh, I'm crazy.
Come on, closet
Oh,
case.
shit.
Captain Coil closet case. Nope, alright, Lily is the only one that's still on me.
Get up.
But I don't wanna. 5 more minutes.
No, get up.
Oh, hi!
I need to find some battery. Wait, how did you do the blue light thing?
What?
I forgot you did that.
So you activate the little doohickey by like slapping on the side. And then
Oh, okay. Let's see. It was 6,
0.
Is she still chasing me?
7,
6,
4,
0,
6,
7.
0.
Oh my god, she is.
4. It's
Oh, it was underneath our
0,
fucking feet. That's so
7.
dumb. I hate that. Uh-oh.
Running for my
Well, you
life.
got lucky. You got so lucky.
I'm just him, okay? I'm just that guy.
Oh god, I forgot I'm crazy. That scared me. I need.
The whole
To
time
go,
looking at the
things to not be.
this whole time I'm looking at the
yeah.
roof, the walls and shit. It was under my feet the whole time. Man, I'm
Oh
gonna
my
cry.
god. Hi, Flair.
I'd be the same. I wouldn't look underneath my feet. Where is
All right,
the
evidence has
fucking...
been dropped. Let's go.
Yeehaw.
Oh my god, girl, why are you so persistent? I think I just need to go lose her in the dark.
I think she could see you in the dark. I could be wrong though.
She thinks you're pretty cool, Marin.
I think she's
Exactly.
pretty cool in terms of like the prime assets in this entire game.
Wait.
Oh, she's after me now? What the fuck is this?
3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. 3, 3, 3.
I'm gonna look at the floor.
Oh, there's my brick.
3.
Sorry, I ate it. I got
Wait,
hungry.
3.
No, it was closer inside the door than I thought it was. Yeah, where are the other ones for that one? I only see 3. It's got to be like on the desk.
I saw 3 and 8. Is it not like? Can I do it again? No, I can't. Fuck. Oh my god! Fuck
Here,
off.
I'm coming back in. I
8 was on
finally
the
made it
ceiling.
back.
But I couldn't find the other ones.
I'm on my.
I'm
Oh.
getting my rig. I want him to come back out here so I can fucking hit him.
So 3 and oh, that was the restart.
8's up on the ceiling, but I think that one's the last number.
Zombie, you're
Okay,
kind of
because
covered.
I got the
blood.
third one, which I think was like a 6.
I think I'm.
If y'all come back here, I can heal y'all after we get out of the room. All right, Coil's in the evidence room. I'm gonna wait for him to go back on patrolling.
Right here, zombie.
I needed to not be crazy. I got my own juice.
I was gonna say I can heal you from crazy too.
Wait, I can actually heal myself in the thing here.
There's a battery
There
right
we
here,
go.
by the way.
I need it badly. Thank you.
All right, Coil's loitering around here.
Let's see.
He went in there.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna grab this too.
Is he coming back?
What'd you do that for? Oh, I see what you did. Okay.
3.
Oh my god.
3 blank 1. 3 blank 1 8.
Oh my god. Where you fucking bastard?
3 blank 1 8. 3 blank 1 8. Where is it?
You do that right in my face. Lock. Here we go.
3.
It's 3 something 1 8.
9,
3
9,
9 3 9 something 8. 3 9 blank 8. 3 9 blank 8. 3 9 blank 8. 3 9.
Got it.
Oh, did you? Oh, hell yeah.
Coil's
God.
coming through one of these doors. I just heard him yell.
It's not this one. No, no. That's no, Mary. No, 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 no. Over here.
He's
Yeah,
in
just
the
go
double
here.
doorway there. I'm trying to get this shortcut that I opened. Don't close that door.
Here, hold on. I'll distract him. Here. Hold on. Where's he at?
It's
Come on,
fine because I
punk-ass
can
bitch.
just. You can't see in the dark, so.
That's true.
Oh damn it!
Unless you go crazy.
Did you set that one off?
No.
No.
That's fine. I'll just heal all of us. Ow, tentacle. In a second. All right. Go ahead, put this down here.
So what? So what's the? Is there
Ash,
a
come
lore
here.
behind the guy that when you're drugged out you see?
What was that?
When you're crazy, the dude you see. What's the lore behind him?
Oh, that's the Skinner man. He's basically a vision of Dr. Skinner, who's one of the doctors that works on the trials with us.
The Skinner, man. That is a wild ass name.
It's a side effect of the gases.
We love the gas.
Got the.
The lead number, no! One is for money, 2 is for show. True.
Shut the hell your mouth.
We got lost!
Oh yeah. Wait, I forgot what we do here. We find
There's
keys.
these doors that can unlock.
Right.
Oh, no. Oh, shit. No, we still got to do the witnesses.
Oh wait, now?
Yeah, we still got to
Oh.
go do Captain Underpants.
Oh, the shit. I don't get one. That's crazy.
Oh, no, you get one after
Sure,
this. This is
everybody got
just
one.
the demo.
Wait.
Actually, I can trade you if you want to do the explodey buttons.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just figured there'd be 3.
No, it's 2 and 2 is what they give, because the next ones they're going to give her radars. To track him down. And I can do the tracking, no problem. So here, if you want this one, here, Ash.
No, I don't want it.
You don't want it? You'd rather use the tracker? Okay.
Sure. I can do the tracker.
It's gonna be over here in a second.
Tracker.
Tracker. I barely know her.
Tracker.
The tracker. Is that the new Dead by Daylight monster?
The tracker.
Isn't that the weird brain meat creature?
The singularity? No.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Let's see.
Oh yeah, the singularity is the future one, the one from the robot from the future. So there's gonna be one here. Come back here, guys.
Nah, I'm going close to one.
Oh yeah, but he's gonna be in the library here.
Oh, okay.
And there's one upstairs. There's usually one in the library.
Oh, he's right here. Oh, nope, never mind. He ran away.
Yeah, if you get too close or get too noisy. Oh, hi!
Fuck! I didn't think I was that noisy.
He's annoyingly sensitive to sounds. But he's gonna go in there. He's just gonna pop up somewhere else in the library.
He's getting closer.
I'm up to 4 dots.
He's becoming stinky.
Further from here. Oh, Lilia, Jesus! She's right
Did
here.
she get you? Oh god.
She lost me. She can't see in the dark.
I figured she could.
Also, I think technically she's blind. I don't think she can actually see out of the mask.
I feel like every time I'm in the dark, she always got me.
Sometimes it's just because being noisy.
Maybe.
Be careful.
This thing's right there. Oh, I lost it. Ooh, someone's coming. I'll shut the door.
She just...
He's right
Oh, she
here.
just climbed into the desk. She's hiding
Oh!
in that desk right there.
Wait, hold on. Back up. Oh.
Oh, I hear
Get
him.
Pop his brain. Yeah.
He's always gonna run at the person that hit him unless you get really far out of the way. Oh, he's literally coming out right next to me.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, nope, that's giant lady.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Lilia's
right.
moving again.
Everything's making me jumpy.
Well, I got bamboozled by the game.
X-pop, right there.
That game does that sometimes. That was crazy.
Deed book. All flesh? All flesh.
Flash?
Why was she doing that like right in my ear? She sounds so close when she does that.
Yeah, she's in the office that you're heading towards. Okay, I got 3 dots. I think he's back this way.
Amy? Thank you.
Oh, big man.
Amy? Wait, he's somewhere. That'd be very quiet. Oh, I lost the thing.
Very quiet.
Is he
What weapons
upstairs?
is...
maybe? No, he wouldn't be upstairs.
Okay, I got further away.
It's like he's moving away from me.
Let's do this.
He's in the clerk's office.
Gotcha.
Where I'm at. I just can't tell where at.
Okay, watch
Right
out for
next to
Lilia because
me.
she may be under one of these desks.
Ah, yes, my favorite.
She is. She's
Oh, it's
literally
right
right
here.
here.
I
I
got
can
him.
see her. And she's up. Oh, and she's right after us. Oh! Run, bitch, run!
Couple of
Close the door on him.
and my sausage. Oh, thank God she didn't see me. Okay, she can't see me again.
I'm trying to get over here to you. Oh,
I'll flare.
oh, there he goes. That was him running again.
Okay.
I hear him. I hear
I was
the door
running from
beeping
Big
on the
Man
far
Randy
side.
Savage.
Okay.
See me? You don't. Oh!
I got him. All right, his head's about to pop. We
Big
can head
old scary
upstairs.
man. Okay.
Oh, Jesus. That scared by Bench Man.
Not that bench, man.
Take that extra amulet.
Ah, stairs, stairs, stairs. Oh, stairs. Here we go. Heading upstairs.
Uh-oh.
No,
Player's
flare.
getting jumped.
I'm getting punched. They're
Oh, there's
taking my
also an
lunch
evidence
money.
room here.
Oh, cool.
So one button's there.
Okay. Yeah, right here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Yeah, you.
I'm on my way. I'm waddling. I'm waddling. I'm waddling.
Whee.
Damn it, he got triggered. That's fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and bash this down then. Somebody's
Tell
in
me
there.
more.
Hi, welcome to the party.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome to the party. Welcome to the welcome to
But okay, so back over here was the evidence room. I couldn't find the other switch. So it has one button here, and then this is here. Maybe it's inside this room next to us?
Wait, hold on.
Wow, you were really red, Ash.
Yeah.
I'm really red. Oh, I got beat up.
Blocked
She
from the
got
other
jumped.
side.
Oh, it's right here. I see it.
He's gonna run as soon as we...
It was right here.
Oh, okay, it was on the other side. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yo, why don't we have urinals like that anymore? These are cool urinals.
The, oh,
I'll
wait.
take those.
Yoink.
Let's see.
I do.
Use the master key.
Oh, my battery is bad. I'm gonna take the big one.
Okay. That should be good.
No lore tucked in here. Nothing in the turlet. Besides shit.
Nothing in the shitter. Oh, hell.
How are we supposed to know the lore of the shitter? There's no lore.
Oh, right over here.
Alright.
All right, you're gonna want to crouch to get close to him.
Oh, you could stand right here and do it.
It wouldn't let me. I had to get this close. This is where it finally started triggering.
Oh.
He's gonna run at us, so
Hey.
yeah. I was gonna
Red.
say he's gonna try to bash anybody who's on his way to the door.
Oh, let me hide
you
somewhere
look
to
like
heal.
someone melted crayons and poured them on you.
I'm
I'm
thinking
gonna
he
fix
went
it.
back to the room that he was in.
There we go.
I hear him. Yeah.
Fix my
I
boo
was
boo.
gonna say, I have this if you want it. Large and menacing.
No. Hello.
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 Oh, here he is. All right, I got the pop off.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't even paying attention to him. Let's see.
Here he is. Oh, it's not him. That's the machete person. Every time. Bamboozled.
Oh wait, I forgot. I am the master of unlocking. I can unlock anything.
The master of unlocking.
Hooray! There we go. Good shit.
Okay, he's really far away. Let's open this door.
Let's see.
Oh, hi, Lillingham.
Oh. Oh, watch out. Oh.
Oh no. Oh, what? No! She jumped out of a cupboard!
Lilia did, or was it the barrel lady?
Lilia did. Oh no, she jumped out of this door. Never mind, I lied.
What?
Oh, I don't have an
Oh
extra
shit!
bottle.
I should make fun of her.
Okay.
You rude bitch. Oh, another rude bitch. Get off.
Are you enjoying body testing the landmines?
To be fair, I didn't see it that. Oh. Skinner man just ran at me.
Oh, I almost ran into that.
Here, come here.
Oh no. I'll just circle around if y'all.
Why did you not
her.
get stunned by that? That's fine.
Oh, that's fucked up. Actually, wait a minute. Oh, whoops. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, is that Lilia again?
I don't mean to
Jesus.
alarm you.
I'm gonna get a bad grade.
It's okay, but
Oh,
at
he's
least
close, by the way. He's close to where I'm at. Just don't know where. Wait, what's close?
I'm at 5.
Where'd he go?
Oh, I found him.
She said that pussy.
All right, I got him.
Hooray.
Here, take this.
Oh, she's downstairs, so be careful.
Trying to figure out how do you drop things again.
Don't you just... Oh, you want to drop something? I think it's G. If you're using keyboard and mouse.
Come in handy.
Yeah,
It's not. Oh,
it's hold G. Clicking G is give. Okay.
Oh.
I'm still very new and stupid to this game.
That's fine. It was just I was sitting there, I was like trying to figure it out too, and I was like, maybe it is hold G.
Alright. Oh,
G for group. G for give.
G for
G for-
Gabagool.
G for
I'm not gonna
ground.
G for something else I can't say.
Yeah?
Is it Gucci?
Gucci?
You got me.
You got me.
Wait, do I need to heal?
Probably.
As long as it isn't Trivia Murder Party, but I love Trivia Murder Party. I'm good at Trivia
Ain't no
Murder
way
Party.
you saw me. Ain't no way you saw me. We're in the fucking dark, bitch. I was quiet as I could
I'm
fucking
waiting to
be.
see her come
We
here.
just-
like,
we just
around here, so I
watch.
can pop this bottle at them.
I don't know if you can Kobe through the little slits. Oh my god, you can. G for
Hey, on the
gangster?
court.
No. Yeah, we've never Trivia Murder Partied at Carnival Grounds because I like playing the Trivia Murder Party while getting drunk with my friends.
I haven't played Trivia Murder
That's
Party in like forever.
Look.
All right, Ash, your turn to push the button.
Thanks.
It just stares at him. How dare
It kills me on the spot.
pulls out a gun that you didn't know I had.
Huh? In this moment, I learned to install mods.
Calm down, brother.
All right, time for the fun part.
Good.
And by
Oh, yeah, I
fun part,
have
I
this
mean
gun
sneaking
thing.
around Quail in the dark.
No. Oh, I was like, I've got the stun rig. I could have hit him.
Okay, I guess Mary will.
Huh?
Oh wait, no, we can't actually.
What
Can we
did I
not?
do beforehand? They won't let me do anything with it.
Crank. We need to.
Yeah, you need to follow the wires to turn
Yeah,
things
yeah,
on, and there's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like
Oh,
the
that's
switch
right,
flips.
yeah.
Yeah, that got confused for a second too.
I've got the one to the right already, so just get the one to the left.
Fuck you!
Hi, Quail.
Oh my god.
Are they both there? Oh, they are both there. I hear them.
Oh fuck! I have nothing to throw. Oh shit! I call my mother.
Why is it always me, bitch?
No, fuck off! Fuck off! I'm busy. There, I got one.
Come on, Quail.
Where am I?
So Quail's pretty easy to hide from. Are you? Wait, the guard outside the window is talking to me. And not getting drunk with chat? I don't stream late enough to get drunk with chat.
Okay, y'all did both of them. Okay.
Whew. Okay, y'all triggered those things.
I believe we did, because it bite them more shut.
Crunchy time.
Go, guys, go! Go, guys, go! I'll find shit to throw.
All right, she's dead. Let's go.
I can. That was fast. Wow! Let's get out of here.
They're both right there.
I'm sorry,
got
I
me.
just saw you got like hit by a
Ow.
equivalent of a car real quick.
Ow!
Wrong
She's
direction.
right behind me, isn't she?
She's right behind me, isn't she?
She just hits me with the club.
Oh, there was two Lithias here.
Hello, Miss Ma'am.
Here, let me just go ahead and take my steroids. Oh, yeah.
I don't like
I
that
knew you were
head food.
juicing. That's why you beat me in that arm wrestling contest.
I don't like how her head food.
After the move confirmed? Sure, why not? Plus, we could do some like media nights and stuff where we do like drinking games. Oh my god,
That sounds like
drinking
fun.
games with Twin Paranormal?
Wait, you. Oh yeah, you did die. I was like, wait, you died? I don't remember.
That's stab.
Yeah.
Aim for gore.
I still got a B+. It's not the worst. How many times did I get hit? 8 times, Jesus.
8 whole times.
8 whole times.
Too early to drink. Also, marriage streaming the trials.
Too early to drink. I thought there's a happy hour somewhere.
True,
Yeah,
but it's also I don't like getting wasted before the sun's down.
I want the sun to be like that, like evening period. Like it's still a little bit up, but like.
No, I just like it when it gets dark early. So usually it's like 6 p.m., 7 p.m.
Okay, I can agree with you on 6 p.m.
I like winter. I really like winter when it gets dark at like 6.
You have to shock yourself out of the comforts and lazy assumptions.
Hate winter.
Accept
It was better than when I was in New England, and in winter, sundown was 4:30.
Oh, bro, I feel you. I was
4:30. Holy shit.
Hey, sun up was also 4:30.
I was.
So it was
I'm
very
also-
weird to be like, what time is it? Why is the sun shining in my room? It's 4:45. What the fuck?
What the hell?
I'm also from the East Coast. I'm not there currently, but man, when the sun went down at 4:30, I was like, "What is this?"
It was also weird going to work at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon and it's just being pitch dark.
I used to work 12-hour shifts as a welder, and I would go to work at like 6 a.m., 5 a.m., and then I'd be getting home. I wouldn't see the sun going into work, and I wouldn't see the sun coming home. I'm like, where'd the sun go?
Where does sun go?
All right, time to spend all these special bonus points that I got. Because they gave me
I hate
a
to
lot
say
of
that-
them. I get the
to say that
strange
that might be
Batman
my last
suit.
one.
Yeah.
You said that was your last one?
Yeah, that went that went longer than I
That was
thought.
a little long, yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that's probably gonna be my last one right now.
That is totally fine. We
You
can
gotta
always
play
play
games
another
again.
time.
I had one hell of a time. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for allowing me
Of course.
to play.
I had a blast.
fun.
Ash,
Thank
thank
you for inviting
grabbing
us.
Flair and Goose. I didn't have
was a
anyone to
lot
grab
more
at this
fun.
hour. All the people that I know that like stream at this time that have this game just don't like it.
Fucking night owls.
Well, yeah, any person I,
mean,
know that
if
who
you-
enjoys the game, which is like Yara and like a couple other, but they're either not awake or don't play until like after 8 p.m.
You should have heard Zombie's reaction when she was like, "Oh, you probably work, right? It's Monday." I was like, "I got Mondays and Tuesdays off, and I'm a
I
morning
thought that was
person."
just a normal like work hour, and I'm like, I ain't gonna ask him. I don't want to do that to him.
I'm always down to play this too. But even if you have like nights or anything, just grab me for shit. I want to play this game a lot more than I have been, so and I got a lot of missions to catch
Well,
up on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is a game I really wanted to play more often, but I got like one friend who plays it, so I was kind of like, I'm more open to playing it. Just hit me up. Even if it's a day, I was gonna say, even if it's a day I work, I get out of work at 1 p.m. CST. Which, if you're an EST or whatever,
No, I'm in
that's 2
Central.
o'clock.
An ESTer.
If you're one of those ESTers,
No, the ones that we sneered are the West Coast. They're 2 hours
That's
behind
true.
instead of 1 hour ahead.
Yeah,
Them fucking
that also
weirdos.
sucks.
It's so fucking. It's strange because I got like one friend who's a Western Coast person, so we're trying to set up for a collab. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? 6 p.m.
They'd be
my
like, I'm
time,
gonna
4
be doing
p.m.
something at like 5, 6 p.m. And they're like, oh no, I'm still gonna be at work. What do you mean? That's after work hours.
What are you doing? What do you mean?
It's
Dude,
4
it's
o'clock.
like
I'm still at work
2:30.
another hour. Oh.
Oh my god, Beef Skeleton, thank you. We love Flair. He's a lot of fun.
Love
I'm just
Flair.
a little
He's lots
guy.
of fun. He's
Hell
just a
yeah.
little guy.
I'm just a little dude. I just exist.
This was fun. We'll do it again soon.
I need double shout
Yeah.
outs.
I
Double
was
shout
gonna-
outs, double fun.
Obedience facilitates autonomy.
But yeah,
you
never
for
be afraid to
inviting me.
GM.
Of course.
Never. I was just feel free to invite me to anything. I'm usually down.
Hell yeah.
For most,
I'm probably
if
going to
not
try to
all
do this.
things.
It may not be like every week, but
Yeah.
like I said, I want to play this game a lot more. So I may try to have a day
Yeah.
where I, like once a week or so, where I just yoink people to play this or other games.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, we're friends on Steam now. If you see a game that you would like to play and we both own it, never be afraid to ask.
Hell yeah.
Be terrified.
But thank you guys. I'm gonna chat a little bit with chat because they get upset whenever I don't give them all the attention in the day.
You
we-
fucking babies. Wee, wee,
We jump
wee.
right into the game, so-
fucking hard.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Later,
Goodbye,
everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you again.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
All right. All right, chat. You have my full undivided attention. Let's put the game away. Give me uppies. I want uppies. Me. You never pay attention to us. Wah. All right, y'all. Now, how are you doing? What trouble have y'all been getting into? Let's go ahead and close we can go ahead and close that. Can we get Phantoms again? And listen, I just restarted it, okay? I just restarted it. It's fine. It's fine. We had to eat another chowder to survive. Who did you eat? And what parts? Yeah, so hang up our jackets since we're done with business hours. We don't talk about Jerry? Oh, Jerry Mouse? Oh no. You ate Jerry Mouse? Oh man, Jerry. But Jerry was so nice. We ate Mike? Okay, I don't know who Mike is. Wait. Don't we have a Mike? Actually, I think we do have a Mike. I think we have somebody that has Mike in their name. Building a Fem Druid? Oh, for the D&D thing. I got you. Mr. Oxlong? Oh yes, Mike Oxlong. You know, Mike Oxlong. Listen, I know the joke, Grins. I know the joke. Peter Griffin? Peter Griffin? We already knew that? Yes. Anyway, chat, we have a couple things that we're doing this week. So I don't know if it's actually like pinging it or anything, but we actually have a campaign going right now for Where Winds Meet. We're going to be playing it later this week. I think we're doing it Wednesday. We're going to be playing the Wuxia MMORPG. I played it on stream back when it was like brand spanking new. But it is a completely free game. And if you're interested in either MMOs or like Chinese martial arts games, you can absolutely pick it up from the link in the Discord or in the panel below, because I actually did add the panel to all of the panels yesterday. So if you click through there, you can actually support the carnival without spending a penny. By playing the game, you actually help raise funds for the carnival. Pick it up tonight? Hell yeah. Let me actually see, because I know I put the... Where is it? There it is. If I turn it on, then yeah, you can see. Oh, why is it like that? Don't crop or shrink. Oh, that was weird. That was really weird. Huh. But yeah, that's the interface. And if y'all do any of the goals and stuff, which is usually just leveling up in game, again, free MMO. It does have a solo player mode. So if you're not a fan of multiplayer or MMO experiences, there is the single player version. It has a very good story. It's very fun, and it has ridiculously beautiful like areas. Here, let me actually see. I know I have some pictures that I took when I was playing it. So let me see here really quickly. Pictures, screenshots. Let's use this one. Increase that. There it is. So this was me going through a dungeon. This was me at the bottom of a dungeon before a huge boss fight. I don't know. I was just so fucking taken aback by the game about the AI usage, but I'll try to avoid it. It's really not hard to avoid it. There's actually a specific icon that the NPCs that use it have, and it's a completely separate interface. Wait, what do you mean? Oh, I clicked gaming. I didn't click screen. There we go. There we go. I clicked the gaming button instead of screen button. But yes, it's you can avoid the like there are AI like chatbot NPCs. You can avoid them no problem. And anything else is like doesn't apply to like AI usage or anything. There we go. You fucking dork. You fucking dork. But yeah, I just really like this game. I was given an opportunity to partner with them for this week. For like the first, what was it? The first like paid partnership that we've had in at least a year. I'm pretty sure it's been at least a year. Oh goodness, that's fucking snuck up on me. I'm sorry y'all had to hear that. But yeah, that's one of the things we'll be doing this week. Tomorrow, what is on tomorrow's schedule? Let me see here. I think tomorrow is going to be... Okay, it's Ghostwire. We're continuing Ghostwire for some single-player horror shenanigans. Help the carnival by avoiding AI? Correct. Correct. Not the exclamation mark burp. Oh, here. Let me also turn off the where winds meet, because I'll turn it back on for the stream when we do it. But yeah, that interface will actually show me the progress of all of the stuff that y'all do if y'all reach certain levels, if you reach certain milestones. We actually do by playing the game. Also, hold on a second. Hi, Prophet9. How are you doing? But yeah, if you play that at some point, it works. Shenanigans, if you will. Shenanigans. Tomorrow we're doing Ghostwire. Wednesday, like I said, where winds meet. Thursday is... I already closed the thing. What was it? Oh, Reanimal. We're actually going to play Reanimal come Thursday. I do not have a second for it because I'm pretty sure it's co-op. Pretty sure it's co-op. And then what was it? There was something else. What else was it about Reanimal? I can't remember. Oh, it's the first time I've ever played a game like Reanimal. I've never played like Little Nightmares or anything. And those games have always given me the like heebie-jeebies. When I watch people play them and like something starts chasing them or anything along those lines. Do y'all ever do the thing where you kind of like curl up into a ball on yourself, or like when you're watching somebody play a horror game or a horror movie or something, and you see the monster or a monster like scurry at the target, and you do the like whinge where you're just like, oh god. Reanimal furry. How could you, Sunstar? Have you considered unanimal? No. I throw my fist up like I'm gonna punch the screen. Oh god, please do not punch the screen. Take the day off to be the second if I can. It's you don't have to buy the game. There is a feature called the Friend Pass. It's free. As long as one person owns the game, then you can play it. It works out. The devs thought of everything. It's pretty cool. Oh, and then Thursday night, we're actually going to have another collab. We're going to be over at Scotty's, aka the Puppet Proctor, where he's dragging me in for his Puppet and Pals. We're going to be probably just yapping horror and a bunch of other topics that we're just going to scrabble around. Are you winning some? We did a lot of winning. We also lost a lot of blood in the process. So you win some, you lose some? Question mark? But we're not going to be doing much else today, chat. The friend passes, that way I haven't been getting any of those because I don't have the pass. It's a specific thing that games get where it basically means, it's usually games have them where they have like, they want to give you like free co-op to play with your friends and you don't have to buy like 2 to 4 versions of the same game, which is actually kind of nice. And not a lot of games do it. Hold on a second. Chat, I need to go check something. Does anybody know the Mythos organization? Why did... Interesting. Okay, never mind then. Okay, I noticed somebody changed their name and I was like, did they just remove the Mythos in all of their talents' names? Oh, hey, and one of their talents follows me. Besides Apollo. Interesting. Huh. Their Cerberus one follows me. Oh no, never mind. That's not one of their talents. That's them reposting all of the co-streams that they're doing for one of the people's debuts. Okay. No, I am not joining Mythos. That is never and never will be a consideration. It's just telling you. You don't need to worry about that. The concept of joining Mythos has never crossed my mind for even a nanosecond. I know who owns Mythos. So that is not a concern. And why I generally say the only person I care about in Mythos is Apollo. Everybody else can kind of suck hams. Amiran, go indie and stay indie? More than likely. Unless it's like, I don't know, Socks or something, but I doubt they're ever going to invite me to Socks. Would she join Corpo? No, probably not. Why would I? Plus, Socks is so unhinged. They're more unhinged than I am normally. Why would you be surprised? Literally nothing would have to change. Bunts. Bunts. No, joining a corporation is not really much of an option. And I think if I did join a corporation, like the only one I would consider is probably HoloLive for my own benefits. But I wouldn't stop streaming here. I'd pull the demon dice. Basically. She's already in the denial stage. Denial stage? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Where are you going with that thought process? This is Marin's Circus and Marin's Monkeys. Yes, you are all my monkeys. And don't you fucking forget it. I told someone started to bully you more so you'd collab and stuff and she'd taken it and run. I mean, we do have 2 collabs this week. Maybe more. Who knows? You never know, baby. You never know. Wait. Why did somebody I follow just... Oh. Oh, it's... Oh, an old friend started... I was like, who has the profile picture that was that one merchant we were talking about? And I just realized who it is. It's an old friend from before I started streaming. Literally right before I started streaming. More Volley, more collabs? No, I'm going to be trying to do more collabs. Especially because I have a lot of multiplayer horror games I want to play, and I want to do more Outlast. I kind of want to play more Dead by Daylight, although I do want to do more Killer. So I kind of need to find somebody that I can rip and drag with me to do like the 2v8 Killer game mode. But yeah, I'll be working on it. It only took you X number of years. I usually do collabs in batches because I'll start doing a bunch of collabs and then I'll get really tired of doing collabs. Because I feel bad when we start stream like we did today, where we're all yapping before stream, and then I start stream, and then we just continue yapping when stream starts. So I don't get to engage with y'all a lot of the time, which I feel kind of bad a lot of the time. But with like the new like co-stream features Twitch has, it kind of works out. It kind of works out. 2v8, you say, Carrie? No. I would like to play the game. I do not wish Carrie to absolutely massacre 1v8 by the time I round a corner. We kept ourselves entertained. Well, thank you. I'm glad you at least enjoyed the time with the spooky games. Okay. Baron Go Classic, back to DBD. Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, I started playing DBD Killer my first, like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Was literally just playing DBD Killer up till, like, the minimum required time to get affiliates, which was, I think, was, like, 3 hours. I think it was 3 hours of 4 streams a week, I think was what I was aiming for. Something like that. I joined you after eviscerating you? Really? Huh. That's actually crazy. I did not remember that. It feels like even Sunstar have been here for forever and a half. Really changed since then? No more DBD? Yeah, it's one of those games that, like, Killer is fun, but I have an attention span problem. Where I'll get bored of playing just Killer for like 2 hours. Well, thank you, Vapor. I bet you from Senna. Oh. Like 2 hours or so of Killer, like, makes me really bored. And then I don't like doing Survivor by myself. Just not the same. But I already know who we're going to raid chat. So we're going to call it here today. I'm going to go get some noms after this, take care of Coco, all that jazz. And I will see you tomorrow. We're going to have at least probably an hour of yapping tomorrow. So don't worry. We'll get chances to yell, scream, and rage about certain things. Oh, no, I haven't done the workouts. Never mind. We're not raiding. Never mind. We're not raiding. All right. What workouts am I missing? 10 sit-ups. I did the... No, I didn't do the push-ups earlier, and I owe 50 squats for the Wheel of Punishment. Shit. All right, stick around. Let's do these workouts while I fucking suffer. Okay, so I know I need to do push-ups. I need to do sit-ups, and then I need 50 squats. Is that it? Is that all of them? Gotta remind Kari about Fear 3 once her donation is over, plus current problems are dealt with. Yep, which means we won't have anything on Fear 3 for like 2 months, 3 months. Probably. All right, let's do these push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. And then we'll do the bicycle kicks instead, because that's a better core workout than plain sit-ups. All right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. All right. Okay. We got to do 50 squats. All right, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Oh my God, doesn't help today was leg day. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Oh my goodness. Okay, 20 more. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Oh my goodness. Sunstar, can you shout out the Discord while I'm doing this? Where was I? 45? 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. As the cake when I redeemed it? Oh, we did a Wheel of Punishment. We rolled a Wheel of Punishment earlier. Okay. Oh my goodness. Now, the Wheel of Punishment has a 50 squat section on it. Join the Discord for things and stuff. Yeah, join the Discord for things and stuff. Oh my goodness. We have daily, what is it? Daily wizard battles. Occasionally we play video games together, and sometimes we do movies. Which, shit, I had a movie I wanted to watch this week, and I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was a classic horror movie, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come to me sometime this week. Oh my goodness. All right, chat. But we're gonna raid a homie, a fella, if you will. We're gonna raid Demon Binning, who is currently playing Fever Meme, which I think is like a goofy, like almost Stanley Parable-esque game. But what do we want to say? Do we want to just do the crime brulee? Or do we want to do something else? Let's see you tomorrow and have a good night. Oh my God. I think we'll just do brulee. Oh, I tried to highlight the sub message. If you have a sub, please do use the crime brulee one. If you don't have a sub or just like the other one better, feel free to use the gold please, crime please emotes. But until next time, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. And thank you for enjoying the show and the chaos. And I will see you tomorrow at noon CST. Good night.